All right, let's continue the live programming here, shall we? Again, look at that. Forgot to mute the computer. Look, rookie mistake. All right, grip it and rip it here on Chatterbox Sports. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett with you here, continuing the afternoon of live sports talk here on Chatterbox Sports. Again, a little bit of a rare early start time for the Cincinnati Reds, a little 12:30 first pitch action coming up here around the corner. So Jacob's responsibility throughout the show, on top of being a producer, being a co-host, he also has to be the scoreboard update guy. So I don't know if that's an official title or not, but if you have a business card, go ahead and add it there as far as that's concerned.
I'll get them reprinted. I'll add it on there. Every week I seem to add something new to the plate. So, scoreboard operator now too. I got the game cast pulled up here. I'll let you know when it starts.
So I'm not going to lie. There's some days, and I know Kev, doing the show with him in Dayton, he can sign off on this. There's some days where I'm in a bad mood. I'm not really in a bad mood, but I'm just easily irritated today with a lot of stuff.
Fair.
And it's a lot of Ohio State stuff, to be honest with you, okay? Chris Henry Jr., he's on my list. I'm going to we'll get to that coming up here in a moment. We'll have news, not news, here around the corner. Let's see what else we got. I want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds because I need people to not get confused with, and maybe you're confused with it, I don't know, we'll find out. Don't get it twisted as far as being mathematically in playoff contention and being a playoff quality team. We can't get those two things confused. And I think that's very important to consider as far as how we're evaluating this team moving forward, because to be a fan of a team and to have that team get to where you aspire them to be, we also have to change our thinking as well. So that's what I want to open up with before we get to anything else, because I feel good that the Reds won last night, by the way. That was a nice 2-1 win. I caught a question on your guys' show earlier today. Who you're more excited for on the mound, whether it's Nick Lodolo back. We had a power outage, folks. I think we're good. I think we're back on the tube of the U.
We are. We're back and we're rolling.
We're all right. Let me see. Let me refresh it here.
I believe.
Yeah, I refreshed it. Hold on, let me see. So we're getting back on our feet. Thank you, everyone who stayed hanging out in the chat. Appreciate Alex, Roger, and I know that Mouse Cop. And again, there's more names in there. I'm just throwing out the ones I see popping up right now. I know some people kind of bolted, but hopefully we get some of those people back. But again, we're live on Chatterbox Sports here on YouTube. Let me hit the skip here, Jacob, and let's see. Yeah, I picked up. We're good.
Cool.
So I think we're good.
Good stuff.
All right, let me hit full screen on that now. Yeah, so we get the show started. Had a bumpy start. Didn't like how we transitioned into it. I didn't care for it. Then we lost power. Now I feel more relaxed. I feel more
now we're good to go.
In control. Yep.
Yeah.
The TVs are not. By the way, volume. Are we able to turn my mic up a little? Is that a possibility? Is that an option here today? But nonetheless, so we're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. We're live on ESPN Dayton. I'm sorry, Chatterbox Sports YouTube channel. So we're excited to be hanging out with you here. Grip it and rip it. Justin Kinner and Jacob Tissett hanging out today. Yes, the whole goal of that was to make it rhyme. We're going to talk about Cincinnati Reds baseball now that we're a little late into the show. We're closer to first pitch, so that's cool. But I want to kind of get back into this because I think you guys were talking about it on Off the Bench a little bit ago, and I was driving and I was trying to get my message sent into you guys, but I was like, well, why risk getting in a wreck when I could just, tell you,
right?
My damn opinion whenever I get in here. So that's what I'm going to do. So Jimmy, I think, asked it, who are you more excited for when they're on the mound, Nick Lodolo or Hunter Greene? And who do you think the ace is, by the way? Who's the Reds' ace?
So in my opinion, the ace is Hunter Greene.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily think he's a better pitcher than Nick Lodolo. I think about 30% of what an ace is the name and being the biggest name on the roster and being the biggest draw to the ballpark. I mean, Frankie Montas started opening day this year for the Reds, and no one in their right mind thought he was the ace on the team. But Hunter Greene obviously was in his, coming into a young year, and Frankie Montas was an established veteran, so they put him out there in the first game. I think Hunter Greene's going to be the ace until Nick Lodolo can go through and pitch more consistently. He still struggles with injuries. Greene has about 20 more innings pitched on the season this year. When Lodolo's out there and he's on, there might not be a better pitcher in the National League. So, I want to get that completely clear, but I do think the ace is still Hunter Greene.
So, I've always been a believer, too, that I don't think every team has an ace. Now, I've never agreed with anyone when the Reds are really bad for those years. I don't think coming into last year the Reds necessarily had an ace. I think we had an idea of okay, we were hoping Nick Lodolo and Hunter Greene were going to be one of those two would establish that role. And as the season went on, Guys couldn't stay healthy. Nick Lodolo couldn't stay healthy. Hunter Greene played really well until he started dipping towards the back half of the season. But I don't think every team has an ace. I think we have ideas of who we want it to be. So when the question was thrown out on off the bench earlier, okay, which pitcher are you most excited for? I think that's the key word is excitement, right? Like, I'm the most confident about a Reds win when Nick Lodolo is on the mound. I'm the most excited as far as like if I have to only pick one pitcher to go watch, I want to go watch Hunter Greene. I feel like we're watching something different with Hunter Greene, but I'm way more confident in the Reds' ability to win a ball game, and I think we saw that on display last night. Hunter Greene makes me nervous. He puts a lot of guys on base. That makes me nervous. Yeah. Nick Lodolo makes it look easy. He just doesn't have that flash. He doesn't have that flair, right? And again, there's up and down games for everybody. But I do believe that the Reds officially have an ace now in Nick Lodolo. I love the 1-2 punch between Lodolo. I mean, you get that great game yesterday after dropping that game 1 against Skeens and the Pirates. Then you get Nick Lodolo last night, who just basically, on a night where the runs weren't being scored and the bats weren't really swinging well, he secured the win for them. He put them in position to get that. And now it's kind of cool to see Hunter Greene on the mound this afternoon. Hopefully, I heard Elliott say, ain't getting a win. Ain't getting a win.
Yeah, he's not too optimistic. He kills the season every time we lose, and every time we win, the season's back on. So I'll cut him a little slack there. But I think we're going to win tonight. I think the series
Today,
get
right
with it.
Right now.
With you?
10
minutes.
Been doing 2.5 hours of sports talk or something?
It all runs together. But yeah, I think the Reds are going to win today. It feels about as big of a series in mid-June can feel. I would love to get a win against the Pirates. We talked on Monday about how much the Reds have struggled in Pittsburgh and against kind of all the NL Central foes this side of the Cubs. So, yeah, I really do think this is a pretty big-time series for propelling the Reds into this next stretch of games. I mean, we continue to break this season up into stretches of games and talk about how many records or what the record we want them to have through every 9-10 game stretch. Now that you have won a game here and split the first 2 against Pittsburgh, and you lost the series in Milwaukee, winning this game to go 500 in those 6 games is crucial to me.
So I think, look, I hate when people say, like, it's a long season, everything will be fine. And, look, I guess examples of that have been on display in May. We felt like the season was done, and then 2-week period, and all of a sudden we're right back in it. And it's like, the thing is, though, context matters. And I think that when you look at the National League, you look at the wild card right now, and the fact that all but 2 teams are within a game in the National League alone for the wild card, all but 2 teams are within a game and a half. Like, this is why I think context matters. Like, we could sit here and fall for the mathematical number of 1.5 or 1, I should say, that the Reds are a game out of a playoff spot. Man, they're a playoff team. And I don't really buy into that stuff. So that's why it's like I understand why Elliott, I understand why a lot of people seem to be kind of negative at times when it comes to this Reds team, is because I don't think they've taken that step. I don't think this is a team that looks like they've taken that step from last season, not being negative. And I love the fact that they are still able to kind of go through their growing pains while still being within a game of a wild card spot. But right now, I need to start to see some establishment in the rotation with guys like Nick Lodolo and Hunter Greene. And I'm not saying that as if we haven't seen it, because I think that we have. But I think this is a very important afternoon game. That's why I don't like when David Bell and a lot of managers basically treat these mid-afternoon games as, well, we're going to use this as it's the final game of a series, have an off day tomorrow, and we'll start a new series on Friday, this, that, and the other, and you kind of throw out a random lineup, and that's what it kind of feels like today.
Talk about a random lineup today.
That lineup, if I'm Hunter Greene, I'm kind of pissed. Hey, we're off tomorrow. Why, like, they're not throwing in the towel by any means, but, like, it just seems like with that lineup, if that makes the fans feel deflated, what do you think that does for the players? Like, I have a bad feel. I understand why Elliott's being a little negative about it, because at the same time, it's like, and watch them put up 7 runs and then just totally blast this, and that's great. And if they do that, I don't think that's a David Bell secret sauce thing. I think that's just simply, all right, it's baseball. Sometimes you have weird things happen. It is what it is. I just think with Hunter Greene on the mound, you don't throw out a random lineup. You take, like, if you have a back of the rotation pitcher, like if Spears is on the mound, all right, you know what? Now, you could have 2 different thoughts on this. Spears on the mound, you need to give him all the help possible in that lineup.
Hunter Greene could maybe win with less run support.
I think it's I think you need to match your best pitching with your best lineups to guarantee wins. Because
I absolutely agree.
You're a game out of a playoff spot right now. Now, people are saying, who cares in June? But the bottom line is you still have to mathematically make decisions to stay in the race, while also at the same time putting pressure on your pitchers to go out there and say, hey, you need to go out there and pitch well today. Hunter Greene could pitch well today, and they still could end up losing because of this lineup, and I don't like that. I think it's a big outing for Hunter Greene. It's wild that you look at the calendar. There's only a couple weeks left till the All-Star break, which is just kind of wild to me. But at the same time, one game out of a wild card spot, one game out of a playoff spot, and you're playing obviously a team ahead of you in that, of course, in the Pirates. You got the Cubs that you've just taken care of. I guess the Pirates are behind you. You want to keep them behind you. But they got the Nationals coming up here in the future. They got the Giants. They got the Diamondbacks. They got the Cardinals. They got a lot of teams that are ahead of them in the wild card race right now. I don't really care about the Central. I do care about the Central. I just don't know how realistic it is to waste emotional energy, emotional bandwidth, if you will, towards that. So I think it's all about the wild card. I'm not a fan of this lineup today, though, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm not either. And you talk about the Reds needing to capitalize on days when Hunter Greene's on the mound. You need to capitalize on every day. And right now the Reds are playing 3 men down. Nick Martini hit with a pitch in the hand. He didn't go yesterday. He probably won't go today, if I had to guess. You have TJ Friedl, who pulled his hamstring making a diving catch in center field. And then you have Jeimer Candelario with tendinitis in his leg, probably the best hitter on the Reds. Definitely the best hitter on the Reds over the last months. One of the best hitters in all of baseball over that time frame. It's really a shame that the Reds don't have enough talent in the organization right now to send those guys down, put them on the IL, anything like that. And David Bell said that Candelario and Friedl aren't looking like they're going to need IL time. I don't really know what the situation is with Nick Martini. We've seen Reds players continue to get hit in the hand, and that story just kind of spiral differently for each one. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. We'll wait and see. But to play 3 men down when you already have lineups that aren't incredible, that seems like a bad way to do it.
Again, you have the Hunter Greene on the mound. The Reds will get going at 12:35 will be that first pitch. Casey, we good? We good? Okay, cool. Then why the hell are you interrupting our show, Casey? What the heck? No, put the camera on him. Put the camera on him. Let everyone see. Do I just walk in? Yeah. Mr. FC Cincinnati over here, man. I was listening to the show on the way in. They need to cut you some slack, dude. They need to cut you some slack.
They should.
You know?
They should just try to experience something new for a change.
I'm all right. Thanks, though.
It's a hard pass for Jacob,
Yeah, Reed asked what I was most excited about tonight going down to the ballpark, or the pitch.
The pitch,
and I'm most excited for my dinner reservations at 6:45.
So, Wright State one time, they called me and said, "Hey, our guy that's calling the match tonight, he can't be there. Can you come call this soccer game?" I don't know anything about soccer. It's okay. You've broadcast a lot of games. It's just we'll kind of help you. I went about 4 minutes without saying a word because I had no clue what to say. And the ESPN producer in my ear goes, "Hey, you there?" I'm like, I am.
I guess.
I got nothing.
That's
I
funny.
really got nothing. Well, just at least say the name. Then I go pull up the roster. I'm like, that has like 18 syllables, and the whole.
How long will last?
I'm just everything was fine until Mr. Pitch. All right, until Mr. Soccer, until Mr. FC Cincinnati. All right, until he came in here and pushed his agenda. And then everything, stuff started to hit the fan. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss. I think I dropped one the other day. I'm just trying to ease into this thing. But shit seemed to hit the fan. Let's just be real. As far as that's concerned. But I think we're back up. Yeah, it looks good. We're back on the tube.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Someone's upset with my shirt. They don't like my Cleveland
I think most
shirt.
of them are.
Now, it doesn't say Browns. It just says Cleveland.
Just has those gaudy colors.
Great color. You don't like orange, dude?
No, orange. I mean, orange and black's just the worst.
That's the color of Joe Burrow's jersey when he wears white in Cleveland. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true. No brown, though.
No brown.
At least my team's not named after a color that the logo isn't even.
No, our team is named after
our owner.
Yeah. Makes no sense. The dysfunctional relationship between the Browns. Everett Henry says it's honestly disgusting. What's disgusting is Joe Burrow's record against this said disgusting team. So I'm just saying, that's what's disgusting. I mean, by the way, isn't that the most, sports is weird sometimes? With the show we do in Dayton, it is basically just me against Bengals fans, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually me just having to eat crow all the time, especially that year that they went to the Super Bowl. But, it is so weird that the one team, Joe Burrow could beat Patrick Mahomes, he could, Burrowhead, all this stuff. But the one team that the Cincinnati Bengals just seem to not be able to figure it out against happens to be the team of the guy that talks the most about it. It does work out pretty well in my favor.
It's a shame.
I have to say. It's a
shame.
pathetic loser mentality on my part that I'm like, I don't know what the Browns could do big picture, but hey, I feel really good on those 2 days.
At least we beat the Bengals.
One because those games mean nothing in the back half, but yeah.
And we snuck that one at the end last year.
Oh, yeah, you guys really stepped up to the plate. You took out the number 1 defense. You took out Joe Flacco, baby. You see he broke the AP.
No.
They're changing, I guess. Let me pull this up. I guess they're changing the criteria for the comeback player of the year. And I'm here to tell you, by the way, I don't really care about the comeback player of the year. I think some of these awards are just kind of silly. And had he not won it, I don't really care. But this idea that you had to give it to DeMar Hamlin just because he came back to life on the field, like that's weird to me.
I agree.
And you're setting people up to say mean and sensitive things like me so that people can clip it and say, oh, look, I can't believe he said that about DeMar Hamlin. DeMar Hamlin, you kind of come back and be a good player. You should be not just comeback player of the year, come back and be a good player of the year. How about that? How about we have that approach to it?
We can – I don't really have a problem with the comeback player of the year being the whatever most gruesome injury and then just coming back to the field. But then you need to have a most improved player award as well. If you're not going to include most improved player like a Joe Flacco type of situation in that comeback player of the year, they need to have their own award because that means so much more than just simply healing from an injury. People deserve respect for that, and coming back from injuries and playing well is obviously meaningful. But I think a most improved player award like they have in the NBA is a much better representation of what that award has become.
And you wouldn't even have to do that if people would just use common sense when voting for these dang things.
Right.
Like, let's just be clear. Do I think it should have been Joe Flacco? But what did he come back from?
Being bad.
Yeah. I don't know, but he came back and he was great, but also he was retired basically. He was on his couch. So that's why I don't mind that he won it. He didn't just come back and was a quarterback of a team that made the playoffs. He saved their damn season, let's just be clear. But the AP is asking voters to consider the following when voting for Comeback Player of the Year starting this upcoming season, okay? So the spirit of the AP Comeback Player of the Year award is to honor a player who has demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity by overcoming illness, physical injury, or other circumstances that led him to missing playing time the previous season. So basically, it's the DeMar Hamlin Award. They just want it to be the DeMar Hamlin Award. This is no disrespect to DeMar Hamlin. You came back and the Bills weren't going to cut him. He was a healthy scratch pretty much every week. Right. How is that a comeback player? How is that worthy of being comeback player of the year?
The most memorable thing he did was not get a first down on a fake punt.
Are we gonna have a second Easter? He has risen. What are we doing here? This doesn't make any sense to. Anyways, I don't really care. And it's all Everett or whoever's fault it was that brought up the shirt. It's the only thing that made me think of this as far as that's concerned. It's the only Browns topic of the day. There's nothing to talk about with the Browns. Everything's going great.
There's something
Jacob.
else.
Everything's going just fine.
We'll work it into news, not news.
You mean the second best wide receiver in the AFC North?
Is that what you're going with?
Talking about Amari Cooper?
Is that what you're going with?
He is the second best. He may not be in the AFC North much longer.
Right.
So he's 30 years old, right?
Yep.
30 years old. Coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving yard seasons, okay? Had his most yard, I think 1,200 plus yards last year was a career high. Coming off his best season in a year, put up his best numbers in a year where he played with 5 different quarterbacks. Fantastic. Doesn't surprise me that he's doing this. He's heading into his final year of his contract with Cleveland. He's seeing that the wide receiver market is booming. It has officially exploded. It does not surprise me one little bit that Amari Cooper is doing this, and I have no problem with it. It makes a lot of sense. And I also will say this. If Cleveland decides to cave and pay him, I won't be angry at it. But I also know this. If he's not a Browns wide receiver in 2024, I'll also understand it. I don't, at 30 years old, you can't put him in the same category as a T. Higgins and a Jamar Chase who are 24 and 25 years old. You're going to give them, T. Higgins is going to get, after this year, 25. He'll get a 4-year, 25 to 27, 28 range.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Right in there.
Yeah. Jamar Chase is going to get that 35 to 36 range. But at 24 and 25 years old, I have no problem with that.
Right.
And the Bengals don't have a problem with that either. If I'm going to have Jamar Chase in his prime, but Amari Cooper is closer to the back end of his prime than he is the beginning of it. I just, if I'm Cleveland, I don't give him the extension. I don't. I saw a report yesterday that the Browns have entered the Brandon Ayuk conversation, that the Browns, it's not as if they're not willing to get the contract done with Amari Cooper. They're just not willing to do it with a 30-year-old wide receiver.
Right.
If there's talks of potentially the Browns looking to just do a trade, sending Amari to San Francisco and bringing Ayuk to give him that major deal that he's wanting, I'm fine with that. I still think that's hopeful thinking, but we'll see what ends up happening as far as that's concerned. But, yeah, no, it's a problem. I think for the Browns to be a Super Bowl contender, they need Amari Cooper out there. I think the difference between Super Bowl contender and wild card contender is Amari Cooper. So we'll see what happens. But
It's fair. I think there's a
nice
couple
try.
more
Nice
pieces
try,
you
Jacob.
might need.
You thought you had me.
There's
you
a
did
couple
it.
more pieces you might need to be a Super Bowl contender, but
Oh, we're gonna do this.
competent quarterback.
We're gonna do this, huh? Overall roster to roster, who has the better roster?
The Bengals.
No. In my opinion, no. Sorry.
In my opinion,
I
yes.
can see the hurt. To be fair, if you guys could see his puppy dog eyes, I mean, it broke my heart. It broke my damn heart, to be honest with you.
The quarterback's better.
Hold on, no.
We don't know what Nick Chubb's going to be post-injury. The wide receivers right now, it's just Jerry Jeudy.
So, just Jerry Jeudy.
Amari Cooper's not on the team.
Yeah. Hold on. What was I say? But until Amari Cooper's not on the team, he's on the team. So, for right now.
That's fair.
For right now, quarterback, the Bengals win that category. No doubt. Not even close.
Right.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Wide receivers, Cincinnati wins that. Tight end, the Browns win that.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Njoku, a top 5 tight end, that's not.
I would not rather have Njoku on the Bengals than Gesicki.
Ooh,
I think
okay.
Gesicki's a much better receiver.
It's okay. I'm battling homerism here. You know,
We don't run the ball.
Huh?
We don't run the ball. And Njoku's a great blocker, which obviously
I think
credits
you
to
need
his
I
game.
think you need to balance out. You know, maybe that's why Joe Burrow can't move his wrist anymore.
See, I'm on the other side. I think we should throw the ball less. Run the ball less.
Throw?
Throw the ball more. Run the ball less.
Throw. Okay, that's fair. So, I think the Browns have the advantage at tight end. They have the advantage at
Certainly offensive line.
Advantage run game even without Nick Chubb. Last year, they
Fair.
lost Nick Chubb in week 2 when we're still a top 10 running team in
For
football,
sure.
which was wild to me. Now, Callahan had a lot to do with that. I think losing Callahan, it wasn't just, I know he's an offensive line coach, but also the schemes and the stuff he drove to, like that went a long way. I know that the Browns redid their running back room as well. But tight end for me, offensive line, running back, defensive line.
Defensive line, you have the best.
Secondary.
You have the best player for sure.
Second, between them, I like the full defensive line in the secondary. I just don't think
Linebackers definitely go Bengals.
linebackers Bengals, but secondary, safety, and defensive line.
Special teams Bengals.
The kicker, the Browns fixed the kicker position last year, and their punter's better. So I know what you're saying.
I like this guy at Texas Tech. The Bengals took.
But until you see a rookie play, you can't just sit there. I'm just saying. This isn't going to work. Trace. Where's Trace? Elliott will let me have it too.
Yep.
I watched
Reed will be worse.
anger on the face of Reed when we were at the memorial, so that ain't going to work either. So let's see.
Casey's in my boat too, so you're running out of options.
Casey's the silent assassin, man.
That's true.
I always joke that we're doing the show in Dayton. I know we're doing a Bengals topic, and I'm laying in on the Bengals. I'm like, I could just picture Casey just sitting there, oh, look, you guys are off air again.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we're gonna blow up the TV again. It is what it is. But we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Where's this damn season?
It needs to come faster. I need football.
This is painful.
It is.
It really is. But we'll see. But yeah, the Amari Cooper thing. Good for him too. He knew exactly when to do it. He did it the day after everything because he wanted them to think that everything was A-okay, everything was fine. But he used the OTA or he used the minicamp, mandatory minicamp, to get that point across. But the Browns, if they were smart, they should have known that this was potentially coming.
For sure.
He can't have the best 2 seasons with the Browns the last 2 years and just expect him to sit back watching everyone else get paid while he gives you the value of those receivers at $20 million a year. Because when the Browns traded for him, that $20 million a year for wide receiver, that was a stupid number. That was a
way
high
up
number. I remember the Cowboys, they traded for him, and they got that deal done. Everyone was like, that's a dumb number because Amari Cooper, and I like Amari Cooper, but I didn't like Amari Cooper as the highest paid wide receiver in football at that point.
Fair.
I thought that was kind of wild. But we'll see what ends up happening. But
I always get surprised about how young Amari Cooper is. I know you talk. He's about 30 now, but it feels like he's been in the league forever. He was in Oakland when they were still the Oakland Raiders, and then he went to Dallas and had a great run in Dallas. And obviously, he's been on the Browns for the last couple of years. He's one guy whose age always sneaks up on me. I always feel like he's older than he is.
So, and that's why when I saw he was 30. And 30's still young, but 30's young.
You're getting
if
there.
You have 2 years
Right.
left on a deal. But when you have 1 year left on a deal and he wants a major extension for at least 25, I put him in that T range, that T Higgins range. But that's the other thing too. Here's where if I'm Cleveland, I still get the deal done from this perspective, Jake, because you give him a 4-year extension, you could trade him.
That's true.
I think you need to have the same approach that the Bengals did, even though the circumstances are different, but they're kind of the same. Both teams are looking at this year as going all in, right? So if you're Cleveland, you're going to haggle with him over $5 million extra for at least 1 or 2 years. Right. You're going to sign him to that 4-year deal, but these contracts get moved in football all the time. Teams move off quarterbacks all the time. Yeah. Obviously the guarantees are going to play a role in this as far as that's concerned, but I get the deal done, play this year with them, and then reevaluate at the end.
Could do the sneaky Daniel Jones 4-year contract too, where it's 4 years, big money, and then there's really a hard out after 2 years type of thing. That seems to be the way a lot of these contracts are going now. I can't remember the last time I saw a tweet with contract numbers, and that ended up being the actual numbers that the player got. It's so played up by agents and everything now. A guy signs a $30 million contract, and in year 4, he ends up getting like $11 million, or he's cut in year 3. So it's crazy how these contracts have moved.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Daniel Jones contract. However, it did kind of even out as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
But no, we got kind of a bumpy start to grip it and rip it today with 2 power outages.
2 power
Not
outages.
One, but 2.
If I had a nickel for every power outage on Wednesday, June 19th, 2024, I'd have 2 nickels.
You'd have 10 cents. Add it up. Don't spend it all in one place.
I won't.
As far as that's concerned, but let's see, what else do we have coming up here around the corner? We're gonna talk Reds. I want to revisit the Reds conversation because as we started going with that's when everything kind of hit the fan. Jerry Jones possibly taking shots at the Bengals. I didn't realize that there was that feud between Mike Brown and him, but it doesn't surprise me. If the poorest owner in football and the richest owner,
right.
You're only as fast. Like life, I've always said this: life is a relay race, and you're only as fast as your slowest runner. So it doesn't surprise me that Jerry Jones is not too high on Mike Brown as far as that's concerned. But we got that the automatic ball strike challenge system. I kind of like that thing. So I don't know if you saw that article. We'll get to this in a moment, but there were some interesting numbers in that. Like it's kind of shocking when they did the survey what the fans and the players actually responded to, like what they prefer. And it's kind of wild. So I have that coming up. And then I'm gonna bash some Ohio State stuff coming up here in a moment.
All right. Let's do it.
People are going to think I hate Ohio State.
What a change.
Just a little bit.
What a change in scenery.
Ryan Day doing stupid stuff. Now he's getting all ballsy.
I might have to be on the other side here.
That's a good thing. The shows need that. I don't like when everyone agrees and sings Kumbaya, and writes stories about quarterbacks playing piano. I hate Kumbaya media, okay? So that's great. Okay, except for the Browns-Bengals stuff. You either agree with me or we got to figure something out.
We need a new co-host.
Yeah. No, definitely not. No. No, but with that being said, so we got the Ohio State stuff up around the – but Ryan Day, that's coming out. Reds, game out of the wild card spot. Okay, they got a big one coming up here with the Pirates. You look at what the Reds have coming up. They have so many games against teams that they're fighting with in the National League, and again, that's going to happen just automatically because of the fact that all but 2 teams are a game and a half out of that final wild card spot. But the problem is this is that identity crisis thing that the Reds are going to have to navigate through because they have to actually ask themselves, like they can't fall for we're mathematically in the playoff hunt. They can't fall for that and let that dictate the decisions that they make come here at the trade deadline. And what I mean by that is right now I'm having a hard time really buying into who the Cincinnati Reds team really is because I really don't know from last year to this year, where have they improved? Better pitching team. Well, that just naturally came through being healthier. I don't know if that naturally came through, oh my gosh, they've taken that step forward as far as that's concerned, and maybe it could be a combination of both. But as far as who the Reds are here on June 19th, 2024 compared to June 19th, 2023, how much better is this Reds team? I don't think they've gotten better. I don't think that they've improved at all. And I think that we feel like, oh man, they were rebuilding a couple years ago, and now they're fighting for playoff spots. I don't know if they're fighting for a playoff spot because they've improved so much versus how bad the National League is. If you look at the standings on this date, 3 years ago, with the Reds' record that they have, they would be 6.5 out. Like, that's kind of wild to me. Like, things have changed. And by the way, you're not out of it at 6.5, but it just kind of is what it is at this point. So these games are very important. I know people say, oh, well, you know what? It's June. There's still a lot of baseball left to be played. You got July, you got August, you got September. No doubt. But when you have so many games with the Pirates coming up, you just dominated the Chicago Cubs, right? You swept the Rockies, and then you have games with the Cardinals coming up. I have the division behind me a little bit, but I think they can make up some ground there. But the bottom line is like I trying to figure out why people are not as excited about where the Reds are within the wild card hunt. And I think a lot of it has to do with what we're talking about. not falling for, oh, we're mathematically in the playoff hunt, but we're not a quality playoff team. And I think both of those things can be true. Mathematically, you're in the playoff hunt, but I don't think this is a quality playoff contending team. And yeah, we'll like I said, it's going to be a very interesting month because with the trade deadline not too far off in the distance, I'm very fascinated to see if the Reds kind of sit pat like they did last year or if they're a little bit more aggressive. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
If the Reds end up being buyers at the trade deadline, I would be completely shocked and moderately mad. I don't think this team's very close to actually winning a World Series with the current injury situation. I mean, it doesn't look like Matt McClain's going to come back at all this year. We don't know what's going on with CES. He just got sent to the 60-day IL. There was some new information after a second opinion there. Brandon Williamson looking at surgery now. We expected him to come up and take over that fifth roster spot. So I don't really know where the Reds are at organizationally right now. I think you're hoping that you get these guys back from injuries, and that's the trade deadline move you make in a sense. I mean, Noelvi coming back on the 27th, about a week from now, and you know, maybe you can get McClain back, but that doesn't look too optimistic. And if you get those guys back in the lineup and you have the lineup that you were planning for, and the guys can go back to playing the roles that they were supposed to be playing, then I think this team can be much more exciting and be a legitimate contender. But with the current roster setup and playing 3 guys down on a daily basis because of injuries, it's just not a winning formula. There's too many holes with the current injuries to be an actual World Series contender. I think going and trying to find a outfielder who can hit left-handed pitching or a power bat first baseman, I think that's a mistake because I think there's so much more that the Reds need to do in order to be competitive. And so going out and moving prospects for that in a year where you're going to max out with 85 wins, maybe, I don't think that's a great way to go about it. I do think the Reds have improved this year. Ellie's taken a massive step, even with his valleys in the season. He's shown that he's a 240 hitter across the board. He has pretty high OBP, and he's one of the best defenders on advanced metrics in all of baseball at the shortstop position. So obviously the error numbers are high, the strikeout numbers are high, but he's doing enough outside of that he wasn't necessarily doing at the end of last year to keep him at the upper echelon of shortstops, which I think is big for him because we know with that swing it's going to have some strikeout issues and he's going to chase balls outside of the zone. But if he can steal 37 bags by the middle of June and have the 11 or 12 home runs and get on base as he's doing, it kind of masks those differences. He has one of the biggest ranges at shortstop this year, which he didn't have last year. He's getting much more comfortable. And the pitching, obviously it is another year for a young pitching staff, which you would expect them to be better. But I don't think we expected him to take this big of a jump. Hunter Greene's going 5-6 innings basically every outing now. He's going 3-4 innings with 10 Ks, and we were complaining about how he'd never go far into games. I was thinking that he'd take a step this year, but not nearly as much as he had. And then Nick Lodolo has been absolutely nails whenever he's not on the IL. So I do think the Reds have gotten better, even though the roster hitting-wise probably has gotten significantly worse statistically. I keep going back to injuries, which might not be fair. Maybe I'm giving them too much slack on the rope, but I keep pointing back to injuries.
So, and this is where we keep doing we're going to base our feelings off of the bar that the Reds have set for us through our entire lives.
Right.
I mean, I'm older than you by a few years, but I'm older than you, but we've all felt the same pain. Like, we've all watched this team just basically drown in mediocrity for so long. So what we do is we base all of our opinions based on mediocrity. When the Dodgers have injuries, it doesn't change their perception of what they want to be, and that's a World Series contender. When the Reds have injuries, it's, well, there goes our season. And the injuries that the Reds have are to guys that are not even comparable to the talent that the Dodgers have. And I'm not saying that, I don't think that's a hot take by any means, but it's just kind of one of those things that even if Friedel hadn't missed all the time that he had, even if Christian Encarnacion-Strand, who I would be surprised if he even touches a bat the rest of the season at this point, and by the way, let's not forget how inconsistent he was before we finally saw the last of him this season too. But at the same time, also forgetting that this is second-year guys. I mean, Ellie, I think just 2 weeks ago played a full 162 games. Like, they're still young from that perspective. But it's like, this is why I've always said last year the excitement, the premature excitement, it's what's making this feel flat right now. Because if they're just a 500 team in June last year, we're excited about all this. Right now, we're just like, all right, cool. They held on for it. I don't know. I don't know how much. Like, this is a 500 team. I think it'd be 500 the rest of the way. I don't know what that magic number is. We thought it was 88.
I think it's lower.
You think it's lower because the bar's been lower because of the National League.
I think it's right around 85.
You think it's what?
I think it's right around 85.
85. And where are they at right now? They're at 32?
36 and 38.
So they're 36
or 32 and 38.
32 and 38. Okay, cool. So, I mean, they have 50 wins left in them? Do they have 50 wins left in them? Like, that's the 53?
I think the hope would be that the team that played in May is so drastically different from the team playing in July and August that the 3-4 game win streaks or losing streaks, don't happen. Because if you just avoid sweeps the rest of the way out, you'll win series in there. You just can't get swept in 3-game, 4-game sets and set yourself back, losing 5 in a row or something like that. Back game of a series, next 3, next 4. That's what really kills you. It's the stacking losses after a win streak that's the stacking losses after a win streak that absolutely kills it, because you have to be able to tread water when you win 3-4 games in a row, and to match it with a 4-game losing streak just brings you back to 500, and you don't gain any ground. You have to continue to win 4 games, lose 1 or 2, and then go on another win streak and stack those win streaks. If you can work some series sweeps in there the other way, that obviously makes a huge difference. But I'm not even asking for that. I want to just play 500 baseball, get a couple games up, get to 500 maybe by the All-Star break. It would be phenomenal.
Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett again. It's Grip It and Rip It, Chatterbox Sports. A little bit of a bumpy start to the show. It's really throwing everything off because trying to get back in the flow of it, obviously, with the 2 power outages at the beginning as far as that's concerned. But no, we're back off and rolling. Again, the Reds and the Pirates. That game officially off and rolling right now. We'll keep you updated on some scores throughout. But the Reds wrap up that series with Pittsburgh here this afternoon, and off day tomorrow. And then they welcome, the Boston Red Sox to Great American Ballpark. I think that's pretty cool.
Always fun.
One of my favorite rules, not really rule changes, but changes that baseball made. Well, everyone was obsessed with the base, with the increasing the size of the bases, right? And the pitch clock and the runner on second in extra innings and all this stuff. And I forgot that my favorite thing about this is the fact that every team plays everybody. And I remember saying this a while back too, like baseball, how you fix some of the marketing issues was, I don't know how you fix the marketing issues when half of the great players in the game don't even get to play in front of half of your sports fan bases. I love the way now that everyone plays everybody. There's less divisional games, and I think that's great. I don't need to see the Reds play a bad Pirates team, any more than we have to. And I'm sure the rest of the division says we don't need to see our team play the Reds anymore than we have to. But to me, the wild thing is we're talking about so much for the longest time about Mike Trout. How do you grow his popularity? Aaron Judge, how do you grow his popularity? Of Shohei Ohtani, the biggest star in baseball in over a decade. How do you grow his popularity? You got to make it more visible.
For sure.
I'm not talking about stupid Subway commercials. I'm talking about visual, actually, be visual and be present in front of your sports fans. And he should play in every ballpark every year, or at least every other year, and that's exactly what's happening now. The fact, and it's wild too, because I thought Justin Verlander, the fact that he's still playing, kind of. I know he's on the second IL stint at this point, but I remember when the Astros came and played at Great American Ballpark about 4 or 5 years ago. I think it might have even been 19. I can't remember. Either way, it was quite a few years ago. I remember I specifically took that day off work because Justin Verlander was on the mound, and I'm like, he's not about to retire, but I know he doesn't have that much left. So I may never get to see Justin Verlander pitch in person.
Right.
So I took off, and I got a chance to go see him pitch when they played the Reds. And I was like, that's so sad that I had to do that, like knowing that he probably had 4 or 5 years left to still pitch, that I need to go now because we'll probably never get to see him pitch again. That was a disservice from baseball to its fans.
Absolutely.
Because people were living in the, it's tradition. It's tradition. I don't give a rip about tradition when you're taking your sport's biggest stars and preventing fans from getting to see them. I think it's pretty cool that every other year we will for sure get to see Aaron Judge at Great American Ballpark. And even if they're not at our ballpark, we're still tuning in to watch the Reds when they play at the Yankees.
Absolutely.
It's not always just about being present in front of them at the ballpark. It's present in front of them visually or aesthetically too. So to me, I think that this is one of the best changes that baseball made. And I just thought of it when I saw that the Red Sox coming up, because I'm like, oh yeah, they play, and they got the Yankees coming up on July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Nothing more American on the 4th of July than the Reds at the New York Yankees, baby. So yeah, I love the fact that they play these teams every year now. I think that's crucial for baseball's success.
Absolutely. It's crazy to me that the NFL has the ability to market their players better than baseball, and they're in helmets and shoulder pads the entire time. Baseball players are playing the game the way they would walk down the street. They have a cap on and a button-down shirt, and everyone can see their face the entire time, and you have some of the most talented players to ever play the sport out there right now. and people don't know who they are for the most part. I mean, Mike Trout could walk down the banks on a packed Tuesday night, and he wouldn't get stopped once. And if Brad Robbins, the Bengals punter, takes one lap, I think everyone would pull him aside. So, like, it's even go outside of the city. I mean, Justin Tucker walks around, everyone would know who he is. He's a kicker in the league, and he's not an MVP. These MVP-level players don't get the recognition, the respect that they do in every other league. And they're so easily marketable. Everyone wants to watch baseball. The highlight plays in baseball, home run robberies, deep shots, bat flips, that gets more clicks than almost anything. Those clips on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, those do crazy numbers because that's exciting. There's just so many other things in baseball that I guess aren't as exciting, that turn people off. You need to highlight the stars and the players that provide that excitement because it is few and far between sometimes. And I think that's what the MLB as a whole is doing a good job with Ellie in a market like Cincinnati where it is smaller. Every time he has a 3 stolen base game, he steals home, he hits a home run, anything like that, you see it on all those national accounts, which is somewhat new. Those national accounts used to always be just Yankees and Dodgers feed, some Red Sox feed if it's a year that they're good. Like they never really dove into these smaller markets, and I think that's really crucial. And I think it comes with playing everyone. I mean, you see those teams are tuned into the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers, those national media outlets. And now that the Reds are playing those teams, I guess we always play the Dodgers, but the Reds are playing those American League big market teams. You get to see those guys in more areas, and the deal with Apple TV Plus and all that stuff, ESPN Plus, to have more nationally televised games. I think it's trending the right direction, but there's still a lot of work to do for baseball.
Oh yeah, and I looked at it as a Reds fan, we should be able to see the Yankees and the Red Sox every year, this, that, and the other. But it's kind of the opposite, too. To help grow the game, it's not about putting the big stars in the small market ballparks. It's also taking the big stars on the small market teams and putting them in the bigger ballparks.
Right.
Now, we may be afraid of that because the Reds could be they've been the Dodgers feeder system for – Ellie's going to be a great Dodger one day. Like, that's just the reality of it. We all know it. Like, let's just if he's not he looks good in red, but I think he'd look good in blue, and it sucks. And it ain't going to be Kansas City either. It's going to be, he's a future Dodger. It is what it is. We've all, I'm a lot of negative Reds vibes today.
Yeah, this is rough. We won last night.
Some people off. I could see that in the chat that the people are not happy. We'll have to, we're going to get Kirby on Friday.
All right.
That's how you fix the negativity.
He's got the wealth of optimism about this.
A wealth of optimism. And he is Mr. Checks and Balances, and he is a perfect candidate to come on the show on Friday to help check some of the negativity that I have not meant to really spew, but it is what it is at this point. I'm sorry for saying Ellie's a future Dodger, but whatever. But with that being said, no, it's really good, too, not for the big stars to play in the small markets, ballparks, but like for the Jonathan Indias of the world and the Spencer Steers and guys like that, when you go up and down the roster, Ellie's going to get anytime there's Reds highlights on SportsCenter or anything else, it's going to be Ellie. All right, but now when Yankees fans are tuning in to watch the Yankees-Reds in a few weeks, they're tuning in for the Yankees, but now there's going to be way more eyes on Jonathan India and company than there ever was before because now they're tuning in for their team, but now they're visually watching these guys, and now these guys have a better chance of increasing their household name probability. Votto's a guy that he was one of the biggest stars in Cincinnati Reds history. I don't think he's a big star in baseball's history. I just don't. That's not a shot at him. That's not, and he put up hell of a numbers, right? No doubt about it. But I think he is one that if he got to play at Yankee Stadium every other year, if he got to play in front of the Yankees fans every year when they tuned in to watch Yankees-Reds, all right, I think that matters. I think that would have been that would have helped a guy like Joey Votto appeal to more baseball fans across the sport than just the diehards here in Cincinnati.
Speaking of Joey Votto appealing to more baseball fans across the sport, did you see he's in a lineup today? Single A Blue Jays going up against the Reds Single A Daytona Tortugas. He's playing first base, batting second.
I might have to do a TikTok.
He's working his way back to the big leagues. Do you think he gets a big league at bat this season?
I think so. I don't. I think he's going to will it to happen. And I think that if you're Toronto, I think you have to find a way to I hope one of two things happens. His final major league at bat should either be in his home country. It should be with the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Or it should be in Cincinnati. So even if it's something and by the way, I heard people talking earlier, the smart ass comments about oh yeah, the key to the fix of the Reds at first was $20 million. If Joey Votto went back to Cincinnati, it would not be for $20 million. It would have been for a very affordable price. And I have no problem with Votto being on the roster for a very affordable price. The big number was always the $25 million that you were getting no production from. That was always my problem as far as that was concerned on the back end of that deal. But he deserves it. And still one of my favorite Reds memories last year, we had no clue what the Reds were actually going to do with Votto, but I thought I got goosebumps, and everyone thinks I hate Votto, but I got goosebumps because I felt bad. Like, he didn't deserve. I appreciate Reds fans for doing this because they provided him that final salute, if you will. Everyone on their feet, giving him that applause. Like, it was a meaningless at bat in a game that they were losing, and everyone was on their feet. He tipped his cap to him and stuff, and I was like, oh, everyone knew they were bidding farewell. Everyone just kind of had a feeling, right? Like, I thought that was cool. I thought that was a great show of respect from Reds fans, but I think it needed to be something where they needed to promote it. But I've always said last year, the Reds being a year ahead of schedule screwed that up. Yeah. I do, and I've asked Karen Forgas this. I've asked people high up with the Cincinnati Reds, was there going to be a Joey Votto farewell tour last year, even on the back half, or would it have been positioned that way? All I've gotten is grins. And I think that's what was going to happen. Like, they couldn't tell me that was going to be the case. And I think the thing that ruined it was the Reds pushed for the final playoff spot. And I don't think anyone's going to be mad at that. But it was. Like, no one expected the Reds to be pushing for a playoff spot last year. And I think that the Reds could not afford to make it about Joey Votto's farewell because they couldn't do that. Because technically a guy hitting 198 consistently should not be in the lineup every night, and they couldn't promise that he would be in the lineup every night. So, yeah, I do think the Reds being a year ahead of schedule last year threw a wrench in those Joey Votto farewell plans.
Yeah, it's really a shame how that went down with him being one of the biggest names in Reds history. I mean, the biggest name since the World Series teams for sure. And everyone, my age or younger, he's by far the best Cincinnati athlete we had for a long time. He won an MVP at Cincinnati. He should have won 2. I mean, a lot of that stuff. He's one of the best hitters to ever play the game, and he just never really got the farewell that he should have in Cincinnati, and that's a shame. I mean, you really want those superstars that are linked with your team to get the farewell they deserve. And I know, obviously, the Bengals equivalent, Andy Dalton's not even remotely the same, but he got the short end of the stick with the Bengals as well. He gets benched on his birthday the last year he's with the Bengals, and that's a name you associate with a lot of success for the Bengals. I mean, you won the division a couple times, you get to the playoffs 5 years in a row, obviously never advanced, but he did a lot for the Bengals. He's a lot of records are in his name, and they didn't really give him a send-off either. So, Bengals and Reds, Cincinnati sports, 0 for 2 in my lifetime in send-offs that I thought were deserved and never came.
So, opposite side here on this to a certain extent. Liking to see a little more of a storybook farewell for those guys. I like, you would like to see it, but this is why, and I respected the Bengals for this, when they were getting ripped for their handling of Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins and the AJ Green and the Andy Dalton departures and stuff, like, those guys all left unceremoniously, as you talked about, right? Like, there was drama with the Dunlap exit and the Atkins exit and the AJ Green. He was not happy with how he was going to the media, I want to stay in Cincinnati, and they, off he went, right? So, but what I thought about that during that time was I was like, oh, I knew the Bengals were about to be good because they were making big boy decisions. You can't make professional decisions with your heart. You have to make professional, big boy decisions at a cutthroat level, and I thought that the Bengals kept making cutthroat decision after cutthroat decision. When the Bengals have been cutthroat, it's paid off well for them. When they were cutthroat with Andy Dalton, could they have handled that a little bit differently? Yes. But benching him late in the season to make sure that they secure a spot to get a Joe Burrow, I don't mind that. All right? AJ Green, moving on from AJ Green, who should have retired a Bengal, this, that, and the other. I don't know why you do that. All right? You got to make you again, Joe Burrow, forget that he played 1 year with Green, right? Like, that's what's wild. I forget
his first touchdown pass.
First touchdown pass. Like, that's what was wild about that. But people would have loved to see that overlap of Burrow with AJ Green. It kind of reminded me of that brief overlap last year when Votto and Dele were both playing at a high level, right? Like, that was kind of cool. But the Bengals said, no. We got to reposition for the future, and it set them up very well. That's why they were able to get to a Super Bowl 2 years after drafting Joe Burrow. And the same thing with the Reds. Yeah. I said if the Reds would have brought Joey Votto back this year, they would not have been serious about winning to me. And Elliott, if he can hear me, he'll probably run in here and let me have it. But I applauded the Reds when they did the cutthroat thing with Joey Votto because that was not easy. I know that could not have been easy, but I knew the Reds were serious about winning when they said, Joey, thank you, but we got to do what's best for the franchise as a whole and not just for another promotional weekend at the ballpark bidding farewell to Joey Votto.
It is kind of funny to look at where the Reds are at now, though, and it's just a body at first base would probably be nice to have. And Joey could have done it.
Anticipate injuries. Also,
I know, I'm just saying.
Would Joey Votto have come back for a lesser deal?
No, it would have
smaller
been.
deal?
It would have been.
So
the
that's really what it came
25.
down to. It's not that they didn't want him back, but they were not going to bring him back at that. Even 15's too much.
He'd be the highest
what's
paid
a
player
fair
on the
price
team.
for him at this point? Not at this point because he's coming off that injury, but like if they were to get a deal done in this last offseason, what's a fair?
I mean, what do you have to give a Hall of Famer to make it worthwhile? I mean, the Blue Jays have him on a
Multiple
minor league
bobblehead
deal,
giveaways,
so
dude.
yeah, give him a replica jersey giveaway and 2 bobbleheads. We'll call it a day.
I mean, at that point, but yeah, I always laugh when I check Twitter and there's still we're revisiting shouldn't have got rid of him.
Facebook loves that take.
So the solution to the injury at first base is a first baseman a year ago that hit 190 something. That's the solution.
No.
We pushed Billy Hamilton out of Cincinnati for hitting 220.
Not the solution. I'm just saying
that's the solution.
We pointed to the whole offseason that he had no way he could ever make the lineup. And I mean, Spencer Steer is god awful defensively. Jeimer Candelario is the worst defensive third baseman in the league. He's going to go play first now. I mean, with CES out, you could find some playing time for a guy that hits 200 with 15 to 20 home runs.
And this is that bar. This is that bar I was talking about earlier. That typical Reds fan bar of.
I mean, Santiago Espinal's playing every day, and he's hitting 200.
We'll watch a painful 198, but at least he used to be good for us.
That's true. That's true. Bengals fans are excited to have Von Bell back in town. Same thing.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm anti-reunions in almost all sports. I think when guys leave and you come back, you expect the version that you saw the first time, and they are always older and more miles on their tires. I don't think it ever works out, or at least rarely. I hate the people that point. It happens with Bengals a lot. It happens with the Reds too, obviously, but it happens with the Bengals a lot. Like this offseason, Hayden Hurst just got cut by the Panthers. Let's bring him back. Maybe he got cut by the Panthers for a reason.
There might be a Joe Mixon reunion. Actually, no,
they paid him massive money.
Contract. What? So either the Texans are really, really dumb, or the Bengals, what? Like, I don't know if that's a bad deal or not for him. I do know this, that when everyone was trying to do this whole, Icky got, and him and I went back and forth on the show one time because he was, Joe Mixon's a leader. You know, he took less money to stay in Cincinnati. And I said, Icky, I love you, dude. I love you. I'll do the Icky shuffle with you all day. I was like, but that wasn't a leadership move. That was a take the pay cut or be cut.
Go, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, come on. Like, I don't know, man. He's had a loud last couple off seasons, and then you do the, take a pay cut or be cut. He made more on the pay cut than what he would have made had he got cut in the free agent market. Now, I say that. No one anticipated the money he's making with the Texans at this point, but I mean, we'll see what happens with that.
The Texans made 2 moves this offseason, not to get into NFL offseason talk, but the Texans made 2 moves this offseason that looked really good at first. And then they did something afterwards that made them both look questionable. With Stephon Diggs, you trade for Stephon Diggs, great move, get C.J. Stroud a bona fide number 1 receiver, and then axe the last 2 years of his contract and make this a 1-year prove-it deal? It didn't seem like maximizing the value for the trade there unless you truly don't believe in Stephon Diggs. I mean, they went and extended Nico Collins. Maybe they think he's the bona fide number 1. But I think trading for a receiver on a 1-year prove-it deal was kind of weird when you had 2 extra years in that contract. And then trading a 7th-round pick for Joe Mixon, who the Bengals were going to cut, and then signing him to a massive contract through his age 30 season, I just don't understand either move.
I thought giving up the 7th to pay Joe Mixon a little bit of money, I was like, you get your guy, I'm fine with that. But then you're right, the extension. Now, he could end up and here's the deal. When you're a team like the Texans with a quarterback on a rookie deal, you could gamble a little bit more with the money. I think that the Bengals, although were aggressive, I thought they could have been a little bit more aggressive during the Joe Burrow rookie quarterback stretch. And I think that's why I'm excited. Like, I don't like Caleb Williams. I'm not a Bears guy, this, that, and the other. Same thing with the Vikings. I can't stand J.J. McCarthy, big old cheater. Speaking of cheater, I'm sure he's very faithful to his girlfriend. He would never cheat, right? He doesn't believe in it. But did you see J.J. McCarthy and his girlfriend? They study the playbook every night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I would do with a girl that hot. I would study my playbook.
No, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, good for him. So, you cheat.
There's a lot of J.J. McCarthy girlfriend jokes I have in the back pocket that I just can't use right now. I just can't use it right now.
I don't, but maybe we can. I have no clue.
No,
Trace has given me no rules. All right, as far as where we can go, I'm not going where you think
I can't.
I'm going to leave it alone. But,
I got some good ones though.
But hey, he may not be scoring at home, but she might be helping him score come this season. I mean,
it all works.
He might score more with Justin Jefferson than her. I have no clue. Whoa, that was weird. Anyways,
So Bengals
new-
fans
new
aren't the
flag
only
football
fans.
league, by the way.
No, I saw that in Buffalo.
We'll leave it at that.
Good for them.
That's the
Good
only
for them.
coverage we're going to do with that one.
Back
to what we were talking about.
Bengals fans aren't the only fans in the NFL that get worked up about nonsense news. I'm sure you saw the picture of Joe Burrow playing chess in Paris. How wonderful was that? That pink cutoff looked great. Really brought out his hair. He looked tan.
What is wrong with you?
Vikings.
Back to the football.
Vikings media dropped about a 5-minute video of clips of training camp. And the main thing that was brought up by everyone is Justin Jefferson no longer wants to be called JJ out of respect for his new quarterback.
We have respect for his new quarterback?
I certainly don't.
Did you ever call him JJ? Every time Justin, he's like that full name guy. It's always Justin Jefferson. It's never Justin. It's never Jefferson from Minnesota. I don't think I've ever heard the JJ thing.
It might have been a fellow players thing.
Okay, no,
but
I believe.
I don't
no,
know. Yeah,
I'm with you. I get.
He said he wants to be called Jet officially now. J-E-T.
Justin the Jet Jefferson.
Justin Jet Jefferson.
Kenny the Jet Smith. Maybe you should show respect to him. He's actually good.
That's true.
I think Kenny the Jet Smith had a better NBA career than what JJ the Cheetah McCarthy is going to have in the NFL. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I think he has a shot to be
I like
good,
that
by the way.
take.
JJ McCarthy does have a shot to be good. If he is what everyone says that we as Buckeye fans are just jealous of, if he is what they are saying he is, he has no excuse but to be good then when you have those damn weapons there. That was going to be my point a little bit ago about the Bears and the Vikings, where I'm actually pulling for those two quarterbacks, even though I can't stand both of them. I hate that it's those two personalities that are going to reap the benefits of this. Like, can you imagine what Joe Burrow would have done? And Joe Burrow put up sick numbers his rookie year before going down in week 11, right? Like, and he had AJ Green, yeah, but he had obviously T. Higgins rookie year and all this.
Tyler.
But imagine if he had the weapons that what Caleb Williams is going to have right off the bat. Imagine if Joe Burrow had what J.J. McCarthy is having right off the bat. Like, so I don't really want those two to succeed, but big picture, I kind of want it to succeed for this very reason. It's a copycat league. I get tired of when teams draft their quarterback, they wait to see if he's good before they give him weapons. And I think that has always wasted a year or two in a lot of quarterbacks' run in a rookie deal. I kind of love that the Bears said, okay, we didn't do well by Justin Fields, but we're going to give you DJ Moore. We're going to give you Keenan Allen. We're going to give you, Adunze. Caleb Williams has no excuse if he doesn't have a very good rookie season at quarterback for the Bears. And if he goes out there and kills it and the Bears are a contender, I think you're going to see more teams with the number 1 overall pick that know they're going to take a quarterback that, okay, we have the cap space to go get receivers and running backs and tight ends to provide him with weapons because we're not going to have to pay him for 4 years.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I hope that McCarthy and Williams kill it. But, man, I also wouldn't mind watching those two fail. I wouldn't mind watching those two. And J.J. McCarthy more than Williams.
I can't stand JJ. Obviously an Ohio State fan. I can't stand JJ. I do love Caleb. I'm very, very high on Caleb. I think he's going to be great. I love what he does. I love that he doesn't really care.
When he told the media to Google him, when someone criticized him, I couldn't stand him from that.
I love that.
And I usually like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I don't like your quarterback for that very
That's
same
fair.
type of
That's
stuff.
fair. You got to stay consistent.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I do love Caleb. I think this is the method that you have to go in. And really the team that started this is the Buffalo Bills. Trading for Stephon Diggs on Josh Allen's rookie contract that took Josh Allen to another level. And now a lot of teams are recognizing that, hey, we have a quarterback on a cheap deal. We got to go get weapons now. The Eagles did that going and getting A.J. Brown, drafting Devontae Smith. The Cowboys even drafting CeeDee Lamb before Dak signed his massive extension, keeping that ball rolling in that sense. You see what happened last year with Carolina with the Panthers taking Bryce Young. You could say whatever you want about Bryce Young. He's undersized, doesn't have the arm. All that's fine and dandy. Bryce Young was one of the most dominant college quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. He won the Heisman, maybe could have won a second one, barring an overtime loss at LSU. He put up insane numbers. He led the Alabama Crimson Tide to a national championship, which they lost, and then a Sugar Bowl win. He was unbelievable in college, and no doubt number 1 pick over C.J. Stroud, who obviously has been good now, and we see revisionist history coming out and people saying, hey, yeah, I would have taken C.J. 1, no question about it. You can pull up some of my old tweets. I did say that before the draft, but that's beside the point. Bryce Young was picked number 1 by all 32 GMs for the most part, I would say. It was no question about it, and they gave him nothing. They gave him absolutely nothing in Carolina, and he failed, and he fell flat on his face, and he had one of the worst rookie seasons we've ever seen. And we're going to see what happens this year, and the best they did was take Xavier Legette at pick 33, trade for Deontay Johnson, extend Miles Sanders. I mean, what What are you doing? You're not giving this kid a chance to succeed. You're picking number 1 for a reason. It's because your roster is not up to the standard of the NFL.
See, I didn't mind those moves if you're picking 6th or 7th.
Right.
Because, like, you're Deontay Johnson, like, those are weapons, but, like, you're also not truly investing in year 2 of a rookie. Because then what's going to happen is they'll be better this year. Then they'll go all in next year. They'll come up just short, and then they got to panic and go an all in year.
And you got to pay him or not pay him? Yeah.
So I'm with you on that as far as that's concerned. But yeah, like, so there's a lot, like with Caleb or Bama quarterback you just talked about.
Bryce Young.
So with him, it's like, is he bad or did the organization do bad by him?
Right.
Justin Fields, I don't know what to make of Fields. I always try to do my best.
Still not
the
out.
Thing. I don't. Even when he's played, outside of the fact that he runs around the field and makes plays athletically, I'm like, but I've always, I'm going to be consistent. I did that with Lamar. I'm like, that's great, but there's a reason you have running backs. He really helps their run game. I'm like, well, then you need to improve your run game so your quarterback doesn't have to do that, so he could focus more on being a quarterback. But of course, Lamar has those 2 damn MVP trophies on his shelf that kind of negates a lot of the arguments that we make, right? But Fields, I don't know. But I don't think the Bears did their best to put him in position to succeed. I also just don't think he's as good as what Buckeye fans were trying to convince everyone that he was. I do think it's different, though. I think, like I said, Caleb Williams, the Bears, here's the thing. The Bears would much rather Caleb Williams not be their guy and them absolutely know it because he's had the weapons to be the guy than to not give him weapons and wonder if, man, did we just let him go? Like, because there was a lot of doubt. What do you do with Justin Fields? There was a lot of internal doubt in that organization. Man, is he bad because of us? Should we keep him and let's give him weapons and try to fix this? No, you got to move on. But with Caleb Williams, okay, you're giving him everything now, completely different direction. If he kills it, I think that's going to be great for football, big picture, because I think there's going to be a lot of teams. I mean, you could potentially see Carolina picking number 1 next year.
Yeah.
Who do we think the bad teams are going to be? Who do we think the bad teams
Carolina, New England. New England's going to be bad.
So, like, bad, like, so the Jets, obviously, assuming with Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be a contender, right? But, like, we know the wheels could fall off quickly there. Man, who are the bad? I mean, the Raiders. I mean, this is
the Raiders are starting Aiden O'Connell week 1, so that could get ugly quick. They do have Gardner Minshew on the roster, so we know he can sneak a couple wins every now and then.
So the Raiders could be one of those picking in the top 3 next year. Denver could be picking in the top 3. Who knows? I'm kind of looking up and down this right now. New Orleans is an interesting one. But, like, any of those teams, like, you got, like, if you're going to be picking a quarterback in the top 3, look for them to be aggressive spending money as far as that's concerned, if they've watched, if they've paid attention, if this works with the Bears. But like I said, I don't think Caleb Williams deserves the whole, oh, he's a rookie, give him time thing. These quarterbacks are coming in as good as ever. C.J. Stroud is actually, like, if I'm Caleb Williams, I'm pissed at C.J. Stroud because Stroud came in and he just put the entire league on notice, and that was with less talent than what he's going to be playing with in Chicago. So we'll see. And the same thing with J.J. the Cheater McCarthy. Same thing. He has, whether it's J.J. he's playing with, Justin Jefferson, whatever. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But
the lowest win totals in the NFL this year, as set by Vegas, obviously not. That's correct, but the Patriots are at 4.5 win total for the season. And then you have the Titans, the Panthers, and the Broncos all tied at 5.5. And then the Giants, the Raiders, and the Commanders at 6.5.
Who's the team, without really prepping for this type of conversation, and we can always come back to it later, but who's the team that's getting hype heading into this year that you think still falls flat? The team that I think that is for me, I think it's the Titans. I like the Titans. I like their new head coach. I liked him when he was in Cincinnati, right? But everyone, I mean, I think, like, everyone's saying a lot of positive things about I think that the Titans, what's their win-loss total?
5.5.
Okay, so they're not getting a lot of love.
They're bottom 10.
Oh, well, now I kind of want to give them some love.
They're 4th. They're tied for 4th. 4th worst, that is.
So what about their quarterback who he's
got good pocket presence.
He didn't perform well on TV last year, but I guess he's performed well on camera in the offseason, I guess.
You could say that. Will Levis is actually the funniest quarterback statistically.
Dude, it's awesome.
You got to roll. You got to roll through it. You got to roll through it.
That's my goal.
I love it.
Now on.
I love it. Well, Will Levis, he's very funny. He leads the league in hero throw percentage, which is kind of a analytical stat, but it's your ability to make throws no other quarterback can make, and affecting the likelihood your team wins the game with each throw. He led the league in hero throw percentage last year by a wide margin. He also led the league in turnover-worthy throw percentage. So he's just Jameis Winston's 30-30 season, but every single time he throws the ball, it's either the most impressive throw you've ever seen in the NFL or it's an interception straight into the defender's arms. He's a riveting quarterback. And if he could figure out some of those ebbs and flows and just iron it out a little bit, even taking away some of the peaks and just getting those valleys a little bit higher, I think he could be a pretty solid quarterback in this league. But you talk about how quick quarterbacks are winning now. If the Texans are picking top 4, top 5 next year, even top 10, 7, 8, are you looking at taking a quarterback then? It's a new coach. It's a new GM from when they drafted Will Levis. You know how that usually goes, wanting to get your guy in the building. He could be a guy that we see never really get a fair shake. Obviously, last year he didn't even start the whole season. And then this year he's going to be out there week 1, and it might be his last chance to prove that he's an NFL starter. He might get a shot somewhere else. Who knows? But with the way the NFL is going these days, I could easily see them taking a quarterback next year if they're picking top 5 because he was a second-round pick. They don't have a whole lot invested in him.
It's June 19th, 2024. I'm calling it now. Quinn Ewers will be the Titans quarterback next season.
As a fan of a team in the AFC, I would be ecstatic.
Quinn Ewers is the type of quarterback that their coach has had success with the Bengals. I'm not saying he's Joe Burrow, but I'm just saying Quinn has all the makeup of that. I think one thing, we're not going to have time to get to it today, but on Friday, our On3 put out a list of their 5 Heisman favorites or whatever, and I was shocked that Quinn was not one of those. I think that Quinn is actually going to be very, very good. I think he's going to be – I mean, again, I think it's going to be tough. They're going to pick up some losses in the SEC. What are they doing?
No, nothing. I'm just shaking my head at you. I'm the biggest Quinn Ewers. I don't think Quinn Ewers is even good, much less
don't like
going to be
Quinn
good.
Ewers?
No, I think he's like borderline a bad quarterback. I think he cost Texas a lot last year.
Okay.
I mean, he had Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell, who were top 50 picks in the draft, and he had one of the lowest completion percentages in the entire Big 12. Like his ability to find the open man is great.
Okay.
Quinn Ewers doesn't create, in my opinion.
So you're down on Quinn?
I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback draft-wise next year.
Him or Shador, though?
I don't think either are a top 5 draft quarterback next year.
I disagree with you about Quinn, but I'm glad we agree about Shador. I think Shador, I don't know the last time a quarterback that was envisioned to go number 1 overall ended up falling drastically.
Yeah.
I think it could be him. I think his personality, I think his antics on social media and just in public in general, and I don't care how people want to twist that and accuse me of whatever. I do not care. That stuff scares off teams. Like, take some of those weird talking points out of it. Baker Mayfield was all of those things.
Yeah.
And that he was all of those things that people said why the Browns should not have taken him number 1 overall. And he was mild compared to what's happening over at Colorado right now. And when Colorado starts losing for the second straight season, when those tires start to unravel again, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know the last time a quarterback was, like, for instance, we talked about Trevor Lawrence the other day. Trevor Lawrence, he lived up to the hype. Now,
right.
He hasn't been, like, elite in the NFL, but, I mean, he's obviously done enough to deserve the 55 that he's got, this, that, and the other. I don't know the last time there was a Trevor Lawrence-type quarterback that got that type of hype that ultimately just didn't live up to that. And maybe I'm missing an obvious one. Help me out if there is.
No, I mean, I would say it's maybe a little early, but Bryce Young is a name that is definitely in that conversation. He was, a Heisman winner, and he came in and was really, really bad last year. So
well, no, I mean like the expectations for them to be in a top draft pick.
Oh, I see.
Not be a top draft pick. Yeah, because there's guys that.
Well, Will Levis.
But was that a work? Like, there's a lot of stuff that's come out that he was used as a pawn in that, and maybe it was because he
definitely could have been true.
The mayo and the coffee thing.
Yeah,
did
apparently the Colts flipped a coin in the draft room between him and Anthony Richardson, and ended up taking Anthony Richardson.
You want to know the most annoying? They might be. I know you all hate the Browns, and rightfully so. That's fine. I don't like your team, but the most annoying franchise in the NFL might be the Colts because they're just one of those that like they make so many stupid decisions, but like they kept winning last year.
Yeah,
they keep winning. And that's what drives me nuts. Is like if they ever get their blank together, they actually could be a very good franchise.
Oh, yeah.
I know people hate their owner and this, that, and the other, but like he's kind of a kooky dude. Don't get me wrong, but like that, they annoy me. I thought they were going to be bad last year. I know they ended up not being very good, but like they were a lot better than what I anticipated.
Yeah, they were fine with a backup quarterback
most
most of
the last 2 years, and they've been pretty okay.
Your guy, Indianapolis Colt. Maybe Anthony Richardson goes down and Flacco can win a second comeback player of the year.
Do you like Richardson?
I do. Love him.
I think the Browns, they make a lot of mistakes. The Flacco thing, I'm still pissed about.
Let him go.
I'm very pissed about that. I
agree.
I don't care.
You have 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks on your roster.
the Huntley thing, whatever. But I mean, that's not like a true backup. If you get to Huntley, the season's done. Well, they made the playoffs.
He's ahead of
5
Winston on the
quarterbacks
depth
last year.
chart.
Let's be clear. They won with 5 quarterbacks last year. They won because of one backup. The narrative sounds better, and as a Browns fan, I should lean into it. But they made the playoffs with starting 5 different quarterbacks. Stop. They made the playoffs because of one backup quarterback, and that's it. And that was Joe Flacco. And it's not just that they won games with him. That was the most fun stretch as a Browns fan I've had in a long time, and maybe ever, as far as my lifetime of Cleveland, the Browns coming back, right?
Better than that Baker playoff win?
That was fun. But, no, I mean, every week, it wasn't just oh, man, they had an explosive game, and, they came back down to earth. That's who they were. That's why I'm just I wanted the quarterback controversy in camp. There's talk of that's why, they didn't bring Flacco back because they didn't want that controversy in camp. And I'm like, but see, that's that stuff I praised the Bengals for earlier, having the making those cutthroat decisions. If it makes Deshaun uncomfortable, I don't give a damn.
Right.
I really don't care. I want Deshaun to work out because they sacrificed a ton, from PR disasters to, cap space to everything to get him there. I want him to work out. But if he doesn't, oh, what? Because Jameis is more entertaining? That's why you went with him?
Right.
I call him ESPN's 30 for 30. 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, dude. I like Jameis. He makes me laugh. That's cool. Joe Flacco is as dull and boring as they come. He won football games. And he threw for 300 yards a game, multiple touchdowns.
Yeah.
Oh, he fell short in the playoffs. Only one quarterback succeeds in the playoffs every year, and it's the guy holding up the damn Lombardi trophy at the end of the year. I don't care. The Cleveland Browns can kick rocks for that decision as far as that's concerned. I still think everyone out there that thinks the worst quarterback decision they ever made was Deshaun Watson. I could argue, depending on how bad this upcoming season, if it goes that way, the worst quarterback decision they've made in the last 5 years, honestly, is moving on from Joe Flacco. I don't care how much of a hot take that sounds like. Because when Deshaun goes down, because that's what he will do, because I have yet to see that he can actually play a damn entire full season, they're going to have to rely on a quarterback. And they're going to go with the guy that steals crab legs over a guy that actually won you damn football games last year. The 2023 AP Comeback Player of the Year quarterback.
That's true.
But now he's doing his thing with the Colts. And who the hell wants to stay in Cleveland?
Yeah.
That's what's wild. In Cincinnati and Cleveland, who the hell do you think you are? You have all, when you had, obviously, why am I drawing a blank? The former Red, the outfielder, Philly. Why am I drawing a blank? I was on a roll. Who?
Nick Castellanos.
Nick Castellanos. He wanted to be a Red. Who the hell are you, Cincinnati, to tell an all-star caliber player that now we're good? All they ever want to say is it's hard to get free agents to come here.
All-time great decision by the Reds to let Nick Castellanos walk.
Argument for another day. You also think
worst qualified hitter, one of the worst qualified
hitters
hitters in the entire MLB right now.
Oh my God, are you one of them?
He's a lower WAR than Will Benson.
Oh, we're gonna have a war right here. This is where I'm Team Elliott big time on this stuff. Baseball existed for centuries with very basic stuff. Average.
Benson has a better average and he's a better fielder.
Huh?
Benson has a better average and he's a better fielder.
Cool. How many years ago, though, did he leave? It's been a few years. Okay, if this is
his whole contract. Yeah. He's been better his whole contract.
But, who the hell are the Bengals or the Reds or the Browns to ever tell any athlete that says they want to be in that city and turn them away? And then when they can't put together good rosters, they like to do the whole crying, it's hard to get people to want to come play here. It's hard. The Cleveland Cavaliers do that stuff all the time. That's why if they get Donovan Mitchell to that extension, that's one of the biggest wins in franchise history, by the way, because that is true. It is hard to get people to want to come here, and then the people that want to be here, you ship them out.
That's the reason. Wild. That's the reason Bengals fans like myself and everyone else love Joe Burrow so much. We finally got the best player they've had in my lifetime.
Yep.
Is from Ohio, grew up a Bengals fan, and at least says he did. Whether he did or not, we'll see. But
you guys fall for everything.
But just the sense that he wants to be here. He's from Ohio. He's one of us. So he went to Ohio State. Everything about that. He's making $55 million a year and competes for a Super Bowl every year, and he seems somewhat relatable, which is crazy to say, but he grew up in Ohio. He goes to Bengals games. That's why everyone attaches themselves to Sam Hubbard, even though he's not the best player. It's because he went to Moeller. He went to Ohio State. He went to Bengals games as a kid, and you feel like that you can sort of see yourself in them off the field, and that bonds the fan base to a player so much deeper than just winning games. And the people that talk up the city and go out. Orlando Brown is a perfect example of that in Cincinnati. Obviously played in Baltimore forever, went to Kansas City, won a Super Bowl. Then he comes here. He does every media relations thing. He's on socials all the time. He goes to Reds games. Yeah. He's talking to fans. endearing yourself with the city you play in is such a step beyond just winning games, and it makes fans love you even more. That's why Ellie learning English this year for the Reds and being able to do post-game interviews and talk to fans and all that stuff is so great, because that just is going to build his fandom even more. So I think that's just absolutely crucial.
And the good thing for Ellie, a lot of people in LA speak Spanish, so he'll be
he'll be all right.
You know. By the way, I don't know when I said this. Everett Henry says Kinner just said the Browns beating the Vikings in Week 16 was better than Baker beating the Steelers in Round 1 of the playoffs.
You said you had more fun with the Flacco run than the Baker playoff win.
Yeah. In that regular seat, yeah. I felt when the Browns were but what does that the Vikings have to do with that?
You're saying the Browns winning like a Week 16 game this year, you said was more fun than the playoff game.
No, I said the run that they went on, like that.
I got
Joe
you.
Flacco run. If I said it that way, my apologies. Everett, my bad. I didn't mean it like that. No,
I just know personally, if my team made Big Ben cry on the sideline in his last game, that picture would be framed in my house right now.
Well, it's one of those where I didn't think the Browns were good enough to win a Super Bowl that year.
That's fair.
I felt with that defense they had last year and putting up 28, 30 points a game, how could they not be a team that is capable of winning a Super Bowl? So, to me, that's why, when they were winning those games for that 5-6 week stretch, it felt like they were winning towards something big.
Right.
The Browns, when they were winning with Baker Mayfield, that was fun because you're coming off of an 0-16 season 2 years before, but you still knew, we're not there yet. We're
right.
not there yet.
That's fair.
That's why last year felt just a little different as far as that. Speaking of Baker, though, you talked about all the things that made people fall in love with Burrow, and Burrow is way better than Baker. I'm not comparing the two, but I'm comparing the two as far as how both of them came out of the draft.
Absolutely.
And basically just engulfed themselves in the community, because that's what Baker did right off the bat. There was a stretch where, look, they went 0-16 that year. They won 7 games the next year. He comes in at halftime and he comes in to start the second half against the Jets in week 3 or 4, whatever it was, and then they only win 6-7 games that year, and there were dumb Cleveland Browns fans that wanted, let's take LeBron's picture down and put Baker up there. Remember that? That's what was wild. But football's everything over there, right? But that's how important it is for the quarterback to have that relationship with that city as far as that's concerned. And my guy Deshaun, he does a lot of community work. It's called community service,
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Court mandated or not, that's not important.
It's not court mandated because he didn't get in trouble in court. He's innocent. He did.
There's a difference between he didn't get in trouble in court and he's innocent.
Okay. It's funny because a lot of you guys during the Joe Mixon debacle last year, all of you guys were you sounded like Browns fans last year.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hypocrites, all of you.
Big
Thank
time.
you. At least
proud. Left hand up. Proud hypocrite when it comes to sports. The proudest.
All right, news, not news. Let's transition a little bit here.
Getting into news, not news, with 20 minutes left in the show.
News, not news.
Love
20
that.
minutes left in the show. We might have time to get to my Urban Meyer take. We'll see. Jeff Van Gundy signing a deal with the Clippers to become the lead assistant coach on Ty Lue's coaching staff, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojciechowski. News or not news?
I think it's news. It's one of the biggest names in coaching and one of the biggest names in announcing. He's going to one of the biggest names in the sport, getting that new arena out there with the Clippers, Kawhi, maybe bring PG back. I think it's news.
So we talked about this, I think, a show or two ago when it was being rumored that was to be the case. It's actually official now. I think this is news because, like I talked about the other day, I don't know how this guy is back into coaching and is now coaching in LA, and he's not coaching, being the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. This goes back to proof for me that LeBron does not want to play for an established head coach that knows how to build a culture of winning basketball games. He wants to play for a guy that has never established culture, that has never led an NBA team. And I'm a big LeBron guy, but I think his biggest flaw throughout his entire career has been the fact that, hey, I don't want to play with rookies. I don't want to play with rookie players because I don't have time for them to learn the game. Well, then why do you so badly want to play for rookie head coaches? Why do you so badly want to play for coaches who don't have experience, but you want nothing to do with players who don't have experience? Imagine if you take coaches who have experience and mix it with players who have experience. Imagine how much better you can be. I think it's wild that the Lakers never even tried to go after Van Gundy as far as that's concerned. But with that, you see that Monty Williams was fired by the Detroit Pistons.
$65 million still owed.
I know they made some changes in the front office. I guess this decision was made from the ownership level to move on. The Pistons have just been an absolute disaster and a joke of an NBA franchise.
Shout out Jimmy. Diehard Pistons fan.
I don't know how. Good for him. I'm actually happy that there are fans out there because growing up, the Pistons had a feel to them. It was like a respected NBA franchise. They're just a disaster now. But with that, moving on, I get why that's happening. It's a total reset. But news, not news. Monty Williams now a free agent head coach.
I think that's
Sorry, I knew you were
news.
doing that. My bad.
No, you're good. I think it's news. Monty Williams has been one of the biggest names in coaching. He coached the Suns when they started this run with Devin Booker and all them. I think he's a big coach. He'll get a job somewhere, whether it's head or assistant. Probably assistant after this run in Detroit. But yeah, I mean, he was a big name when he came out to take that job in Detroit. So I think he'll get a job somewhere else. I think it's news. Not many NBA coaches who you recognize the name.
I think it's news because I actually think that I've been trying to figure out why the hell the Cleveland Cavaliers have been so quiet in their coaching search. I wonder if they knew something that maybe we didn't. I wonder if they kind of got some rumblings that this was kind of going on behind the scenes. I would have to think, though, if you're Monty Williams, are you really a glutton for punishment? You want to go live in Detroit for a year and then move to Cleveland? I don't know. But Monty Williams is a candidate, if I'm the Cavaliers, that I'm going after hard. Same thing if I'm the Lakers. I think if the Lakers want to prove that they're serious about winning, you don't hire a podcast host to be your head coach. You hire Monty Williams. And I like J.J. Redick, let's be clear. But I think it's a more mature decision to go after Monty Williams if you're the Lakers as far as that's concerned. So Colin Will on YouTube says, because he can, talking about LeBron, he can manipulate the rookie head coaches, and he knows most rookie head coaches won't hold him accountable. It's, yes, that to a point, but it's in a room where a big decision has to be made. If J.J. Redick says, no, we're doing this, but LeBron says, no, we're doing this, who do you think the players are going to listen to? They're going to always go with LeBron. That's why it was important to find a head coach that was going to have face in the room, and I just don't think that's J.J. But to be fair, as much as I like Monty Williams, I don't know if he's that guy either.
That's fair.
So we'll see. All right, next up, legendary broadcaster Dick Vitale says that he is cancer-free for the third time in 2 years, and that his doctors have given him the green light to resume calling college basketball games coming up this season.
Oh, that's always news. If Dickie V can be on my TV in college basketball season, it's better for everyone. So I love when he's calling games. I love when he's out there. This will be news every time, as many times as we can hear it.
News, but it's amazing how many people say they don't like him, but yet, I know so many people in Dayton say they can't stand him, and then when the college game day was announced that it was coming to UD Arena, oh my God, everyone was, it's awesome, baby. I was like, well, you guys are all hypocrites. I'm the hypocrite police, by the way.
That's fair.
Cherries and berries.
You're not hypocritical at all.
You know, nonetheless. Next up, NFL Sunday ticket pricing, ESPN against the NFL. How about this? I know there's a lawsuit going on, but the part that caught my attention the most over anything is that ESPN wanted to lower the cost of the NFL Sunday ticket to $70, okay? But the NFL shut it down. Now, Roger Goodell said that, well, the Sunday ticket, it's a premium product and it's priced as such. I don't blame Goodell for having that mindset. I blame the consumers. The consumers continue to buy into this. And this is good business if you're the NFL.
Right.
I know people don't want to hear that. I know we all want it cheaper. I want it cheaper. I don't want to keep using my friend's YouTube TV password to have to watch these games, right? But we all prove that we're willing to buy it. In fact, last year was the highest amount of NFL Sunday ticket subscriptions that they've ever had, and they're actually projected to surpass that with the ESPN Plus partnership now. So, yeah, I get why the NFL is like, ESPN, I think we'll make the business decisions. You're the one that's drowning right now. We're doing just fine. But as a consumer, no, I want it cheaper, but I understand Roger Goodell, he's going to be the bad guy here. He doesn't care who's mad at him in this situation.
No, why in the world would you make it cheaper? I mean, it's every single MLB's behind a paywall too, and no one seems to ever talk about that. So, you know, if you're paying $150 or whatever to watch your team play 17 games a year, as long as people will do it, they'll keep charging it.
Well, the difference with MLB, though, MLB is trying to find a solution to getting more viewers. They're trying to get, more people to tune in and watch, and they're making it harder. The thing with the NFL, it's not harder. I hear people all the time say, "Oh, people aren't going to watch if they have to get Peacock." Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. You know how many?
The Peacock playoff game last year slated about right in the middle of viewership. Wasn't the lowest, wasn't the highest, but it certainly didn't affect it.
Wasn't viewership, but they also increased their subscriptions by 112%. So that was kind of the big goal, because now that 112% increase in subscriptions, now those are people that are there that when they drop the next playoff game, there'll be more people there waiting. It's just that's why they're building it a game at a time versus saying all playoff. Because we all know this is trending towards a streaming only format, which is just wild. And we'll cross that bridge when that time comes. Last one on here. Last one here on News Not News. Pat McAfee has not signed a new College Game Day contract with ESPN for the upcoming 2024 season. Pat McAfee, when asked about this, says that one of the biggest reasons why I have not signed a contract with the legendary show, I'm not right for some crowds, and the distinguished college football folks are definitely one of those. News or not news?
I think it's news. I think everything with Pat McAfee and ESPN is news until pen touches paper. I mean, we've seen so many issues with him in the front office there, and I guess not front office, but the leadership at ESPN and stuff like that with the show and the way that he wants to manage it and the way he wants to run it and the pushback from that. So there's obviously a lot of pushback from game day fans as well about not wanting him on there all the time, and hopefully they weren't loud enough to get that to be the case, because I know personally I love Pat McAfee. I think he's great on game day. I think he made it a great switch last year being on there and really adding some pop. I mean, God love Lee Corso, but he doesn't even know what game he's picking half the time.
You mean the sports Joe Biden?
Yeah, right about. So
that's okay. You don't get uncomfortable with that.
No, he gets off the stage, he walks in a circle, he gets back on stage.
Oh,
so,
okay, good. Yeah, he's the sports Joe Biden.
He's the sports Joe Biden. That seems exactly fair. And yeah, I mean,
I watched Obama the other day, had to grab him by the arm to help Biden off the stage, and I thought I was watching College Game Day for a second. It was kind of wild.
Herb Street walking Corso to his
Yeah.
pick. Yeah, and I mean, it's happening more and more often. It's upsetting to see, and I do think Lee Corso should be out there putting the headgear on until he doesn't want to be. I don't think he should be forced off. I think he's fine. I think putting McAfee on there and putting Saban on there, which they've talked about for doing this year, I don't know if that's finalized or not, but it is.
That's why he premiered, I think, during the draft.
Was he's going to be every week on game day?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so he'll be on there.
That's your guy.
That'll spice it up. I love Nick Saban.
I do
So
too. Yeah.
I think he'll be great. I think McAfee would have been great with them, and I think that's a way to extend Corso's career and extend the career of the rest of the guys on that desk. But maybe the vocal minority was loud enough to get McAfee off the desk, which would be a real shame.
So McAfee is the whole reason that I got re-energized working in this business to begin with, and then seeing the work that you guys are doing. It's a lot of the same type of stuff, right? And it's the space that these shows live on is because of the work that he has done to kind of create an environment where you can do these types of things, not on a network, sports, network as far as that's concerned. Now, I'm the biggest Pat McAfee fan because a lot of his and I interest overlap. I had a chance to. Are you a wrestling guy? Are you a WWE guy?
I'm not, but I used to be. I was when I was a kid. I'm trying to get back into a little bit. I watched McAfee almost every day before I started working here, and he talks about it a lot.
I'm going to SummerSlam if The Rock is there.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. So when I had a chance to meet McAfee in New York a few years ago, and it was for some sports conference, and everyone's asking all these sports questions. So I was like, well, I'm going to ask a WWE question. And then that got his attention big time. The conference ends, we just hang out in that hotel media bar area.
Yeah.
And we just drank and talked wrestling for hours.
That's awesome.
He's the coolest guy, and I've been his biggest fan ever since then, just because he gave me attention and made me feel like I was somebody.
That's
I'm a
super
nobody.
cool.
I'm an absolute nobody. So I'm the biggest Pat McAfee defender out there. But the bottom line is in the world of media, there's a lot of old heads that think that everything needs to be done a certain way because that's how it was for them growing up. And this is why baseball and other sports that are stuffy, they get in their own way. This is why baseball, who's the most really stuffy sport out there, the fact that they've made the aggressive changes that they had as of late, you've seen how that's paid off over the last 2 seasons with the ratings increases and attendance increases and everything along those lines. But with media, he has been the guy that has spearheaded a lot of this, and I think that it would be an absolute loss for ESPN if he is not part
Couldn't
of Game
agree
Day.
more.
I mean, tuning into Game Day and just being entertained by it. For one, you tune into Game Day, I think it was a perfect blend. He brought the entertaining factor to it, along with, of course, the great feature stories and just the camaraderie between the guys on the panel. Outside of Inside the NBA with Barkley and Charles, or with Barkley and Shaq and those guys.
Which is dead.
The Game Day, yeah. The Game Day panel is right up there with those guys,
For
in
sure.
my opinion, and I think he's the key to taking that to the next level. So
I agree.
I think that's news. I think he still gets it done. This could be to me, I think this is a negotiation thing.
That's fair. He's great at that.
But also, one thing he has said, too, when talking about WWE makes him feel more welcome than college football does.
That's fair.
He can act like a fool with his WWE people, and look who his audience is there, right? Let's boobs like me. The buttoned-up college football. The drunks on Saturday, they have a high standard for what they...
I guess.
It's so wild.
I guess. Yeah, it is crazy. I don't really understand the hatred for him on the show. He's a guy who played football at the highest level. He was damn good at it. He was an all-pro. He knows what he's talking about, and he's entertaining. So I don't really know what the pushback is.
Damn kickers.
I know.
Did you play football?
I did.
Were you a kicker?
I was not a kicker. I was an interior D lineman. I had a couple more LBs on me back in the day.
Look at you. Yeah, is that you on that picture? On your YouTube picture? And
Oh, yeah.
that was you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did have quite a few more. Now, coming from a guy that has a lot of pounds on me, I'm not judging.
I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am now in high school.
And I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, that ain't Jacob. That was you?
Yeah.
You were just trying to show off for old Nick Saban. You were hoping that he'd be like,
You
hey,
know,
get on the. Get
I was
on
hoping
the
one
line.
day he'd look up in the film tower and say, maybe that guy can play. Maybe that guy can get down here on the field. Never happened.
So
Never happened. So I'm here.
Your film preparation contributed towards a national championship. Nice job.
I filmed a national championship, which is pretty cool. Not the one we won. I filmed the one against Georgia in Indianapolis.
Georgia. That's pretty cool. Still fascinated by that, by the way. I tell all my friends that the guy I work with has national championship ring and a couple SEC championship rings, and then they boo.
That's fair. You don't tell them where I came from. Yeah.
All right, we got 9 minutes. So the good thing about this is we get to roll over a lot of this stuff to Friday. The show got off to a very bumpy start with the with the lights flickering,
power outages, and computer crash.
Yeah. So with that, we have a lot of stuff that we're going to take into the next show. But I wanted to get to this because Urban Meyer was interviewed recently in Columbus, and he was asked about his perception, about his thoughts on this upcoming season. And look, the bottom line is what you're about to hear. It surprised me a little bit, but like, here's the bottom line. Everybody knows how good this Ohio State team is going to be this upcoming season, or at least anticipates them to be. We know how loaded this roster is, but is Urban Meyer piling it on a little thick here? Take a listen.
But as of now, this is one of the most talented rosters in the last decade, maybe ever. I mean, that's a big statement. They got to play, but you look at the quality of athlete at every position, I've never seen anything like it.
Never seen anything like it.
I think he's piling it on a little thick there. My thing is, we know how good this Ohio State roster is, but when he goes out and says, "Man, this might be the best roster in the last 10 years," ... maybe ever. He's never seen anything like it. You had a roster with a bunch of murderers on it. What are you talking? You've never seen anything like this roster before? You've never seen anything like it at all? Like, what? I'm very confused. I love that he is still being the ultimate salesman for this Buckeye team. But one has to wonder, that Urban Meyer, new friend of Chatterbox Sports at the Memorial, by the way, you have to wonder, the higher you set the bar, the higher you raise the expectations. If Ohio State doesn't live up to those, does the noise get loud? If they falter in November again like they've done the last 3 years, I've always just wondered just how much of an arm's length away Urban has been trying to keep Ohio State, and I really don't think that's exactly what's going on here. But I do think that is not helping. You think you could still be complimentary of the program without having to go to that degree of saying maybe ever, never seen anything like it, best roster in the last 10 years, maybe ever. Like, I think that's, at the end of the day, we're heading into a college football season where it's the inaugural 12-team college football playoff, and this is way different than the 4. There's obviously way more teams. That's a dust statement. But I think that we're approaching a time in college football where I don't think it's fair to ever put a championship or bust expectation on anybody. But I feel like Ohio State's getting that label thrown on their back that it's a championship or bust, and I think it's going to be so difficult to win a national championship in college football. I know we've talked about this, Jacob, but the bottom line is I don't think, although Urban being the ultimate salesman for this program, I don't think he's doing them any favors by overdoing it here and basically putting that championship or bust expectation on them. A lot of you are watching right now saying, well, that's fair. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to put any team in a championship or bust type of label until we figure out how this whole college football playoff with 12 teams is going to roll out.
I totally agree with you that he's putting maybe some unnecessary weight on the Ohio State program, but I certainly don't disagree with him. I think this is the most talented roster I've seen in the last decade. I think this is one of the most talented rosters of all time. You have the best running back in the Big Ten. You have the best running back out of the SEC coming up. You have the best defensive player in the country transferring in. You return 2 corners in Denzel Burke and Noah Egbunonson, who are 2 of the most dominant cover corners in all of college football. You return an all Big Ten safety in Jordan Hancock. The linebackers are gone, who was the clear weak spot of the defense last year. You bring back Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau, who are bona fide first-round picks, top 10 talent if they can produce this year sack-wise. I really don't know where the hole is in this team. I mean, obviously you can point to the quarterback position, But even Will Howard put up some pretty good numbers at Kansas State and won them more games than Kansas State usually wins. So he was playing competitive football down there, and he's going to have better weapons. Didn't even talk about the weapons. Amika Ibuka, you have Jeremiah Smith coming in, the number 1 receiver in the class, one of the best high school prospects of all time. Jalen Ballard's still there, who was one of the top receiver recruits when he came in. This Ohio State roster has no holes in it, top to bottom. Absolutely none. And you can point to the quarterback, Will Howard. Sure, if he doesn't succeed, we have the number 1 quarterback in this class, Julian Sayin, right behind him, who's probably going to be ready to go. So I really don't think there's any holes in this team. I totally agree with what Urban said in that this is the best roster of the last 10 years. Everyone's going to point to LSU with Joe Burrow and all them, which absolutely fair. They had Joe Burrow. They had Jamar Chase. They had Justin Jefferson. A couple pieces on that defense, sure, but, I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire's not better than either Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins. Their number 3 receiver is certainly not better than Jalen Ballard. Their defense is nowhere close to this defense Ohio State's going to have this year, a defense who last year was top 10 in the league or in college football, and you bring back most of the key pieces and bring in the best player in college football in Caleb Downs to come up and play for 2 years at safety at Ohio State. I think this is the best roster I've ever seen.
So for it to be the best roster in the last 10 years, maybe ever again, whether we think he's piling it on a little thick or not, I think it all does come down to Will Howard. Because when we argue about the best rosters out there, they all have one thing in common. They all have elite quarterbacks. Like you're in Alabama, you obviously spent a lot of time at Alabama. And the thing about those teams is that you talk about the depth and you talk about the balance on both sides of the ball, this, that, and the other. That's what Ohio State's definitely going to have this upcoming season. I don't think anyone's doubting the explosiveness that they're going to have on offense and how good and experienced they're going to be on the defensive side of the ball. However, I think that we have seen a lot of teams win national championships that are very, very good on offense and very, very good on defense. But I think Ohio State has the opportunity to be better than that. I think that they have an opportunity to have an offense like that LSU team with Joe Burrow and company. But we don't know that because Will Howard has to prove that he is that.
Right.
And that's why I'm only pushing back a little, saying I can't say any of that until we know who Will Howard is. Because Will Howard's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Alabama's won national championships with good, solid quarterback play, not elite quarterback play. Ohio State could be a good team, or they could have good quarterback play and win a national championship, but I don't think anyone's going to say that they're the favorite if they get good quarterback play from Will Howard. But if they get elite quarterback play from Will Howard, now it's a different conversation. Now I think we can look at Ohio State and say, okay, now they're the favorites to win the national championship because they have a Heisman contending quarterback in Will Howard. But if he's just good, and he was pretty good at Kansas State, and he didn't have all the weapons that he's going to have at Ohio State, and I think that's why a lot of people are anticipating him taking that next big step, we also have to sit back and also account for the fact that this offensive line, where we're getting, we're falling for the receivers in the running back room and then the returning players on defense. I need to know that O-line is going to be significantly better. Because that's really – last year Ohio State had one of the best running back rooms in college football, but they were not very good running the football, and it wasn't because of lack of talent. It was because they didn't have the big boys up front. And that's really what it's going to come down to, too. So there's a lot of moving pieces. For me, it's the offensive line. For me to say that this is the best roster in the last 10 years, the most something he's never seen, Will Howard has to be high level, and the offensive line has to be improved. And if those two things don't happen, then Ohio State's just a very, very good team that will have a chance to win a national championship. If Will Howard's elite, they are the favorites to win the national championship. I just have to see it to believe it. The problem is, they're going to beat up on their opponents the first month and a half of the season.
Well, Oregon.
So they don't play them until October 12th.
I thought that was early.
No, they don't play them until October 12th. They actually play Oregon coming off of a bye.
Nice.
So that's good.
Underdogs.
To prepare. And then, so that's kind of wild. But with that being said, okay, they're going to bludgeon opponents and we're going to think that they're elite, but then all of a sudden they're going to run into a brick wall with Oregon. But if they steamroll Oregon on October 12th, then it's like, okay, Ohio State has something. We're just not going to know the answer to this rhetoric from Urban Meyer. We're not going to have a true idea of it, honestly, in my opinion, until the end of the game on October 12th.
Now, what verifies this take more for you? A national championship, or if this team, say, is a dominant 15-0 and loses in the Elite Eight? Say we're 10-2 and win a national championship versus going 15-0, beating every team by 40, and you get snuck by Alabama or Georgia in the Elite Eight.
Well, that's why it's a wild time heading into the 12-team college football playoff era, because I think it's going to change the perception of things. Elite teams are going to lose their third playoff game. their second playoff game, and it's going to alter the perception of those because we've gotten so used to player 12 games, player player conference championship game, player 1 national championship or bowl game, or player 2 playoff games and be done. Now you got to play in a 12-team playoff. You got to play an NFL length schedule. We got to change our perception of national. That's why I said national championship or bust. That's why I didn't like those comments from Urban. It's going to put that label on them, and I don't think it's fair to put that label on any team this upcoming season. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. I don't think it's fair to do that moving forward. Just like I don't think we do that with college basketball.
That's fair.
Because the best team rarely wins it all. Now, I know UConn technically has been the best team the last couple of years, but that's been kind of the exception as far as that's concerned. But,
touching back on this upcoming quarterback draft class, Will Howard currently ranked in the 15 to 18 range. How high do you think he could climb?
I think he has the highest ceiling of all the quarterbacks that are out there. Mainly because of who he's throwing the ball to. Like,
you don't think that would hurt his draft stock, though?
Oh, you think they'll use it against him? I do think that C.J. Stroud might alter that a little bit. I do think, and I've said this before, and everyone's always laughed at me. I'm like, I think the success of the quarterbacks in the NFL impact the program.
Absolutely.
Because when Ohio State kept putting, when's the last time an Ohio State quarterback, I'm like, I don't really care. I just want them to be good college quarterbacks.
Right.
But it's got to the point now where when you're an NFL factory, if that position's not hitting, you're not going to get that love of, you're only good because you have the Chris Olaves and the Garrett Wilsons and those guys, right? And the Jackson Smith and Jigbas and this, that, and the other looking back at the past. But now C.J. Stroud had all of those guys. He killed it with those guys, and he's killing it in the NFL.
Burrow.
Howard could benefit from that perception if that still exists.
That's definitely fair. Yeah. I'm just looking at the list of
because Fields was hurting that notion for a
while.
For
sure. Yeah, no question about it because he looked elite throwing the football, especially deep to Olave and Garrett Wilson, and then he never even had close to deep ball success in the NFL. Yeah, I'm looking at the quarterback list right now, and this draft class quarterback-wise is just so weak. Will Howard could sneak his way into the top 5.
I think so. He could benefit from I'm telling you, Shador's dropping. I think he's dropping, man.
I think where we disagree on Shador, I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think we agree with how he is as a player. I don't think he's the number 1 quarterback in this draft class in anyone's mind.
All those mock drafts keep putting him at the top.
The media.
Okay.
I don't think any of the 32 NFL teams
smart people. Yeah.
I don't think they do. Just unless I am so, my brain is so poisoned from watching him and not liking Colorado that I don't see it. I just don't even. I cannot figure out what people see in him as an NFL talent. I seriously, I try to go back and watch him play, and I just don't see it at all. I mean, I would have him in the fringe top 10 quarterbacks in this draft class right now.
If he's not Deion's son.
Right.
I mean, the fact that we critiqued, Washington's quarterback. We looked at him and Michael Penix Jr., who I think looked a million times better than Shador.
Incredible.
We found ways to pick his game apart. But I'm supposed to believe that this guy with all the personality flaws on top of the not being very buttoned up skill set wise.
Right.
Oh, because he can make plays with his legs, this, that, and the other, and his dad's
Can he?
Deion?
He can make plays with his legs at Jacksonville State and Colorado. I mean, Big 12's vaunted defenses. I don't know.
When they played Oregon.
And he doesn't even put up the gaudy numbers that the quarterbacks in the Big 12 usually put up to be in that conversation. He's fairly middle of the road. And I understand their roster last year wasn't what it's supposed to be this year, so maybe we'll see. But, guys, Carson Beck, I'm not even a Quinn Ewers guy, but Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Cameron Ward, Jackson Dart, Drew Aller, Riley Leonard, Graham Mertz are all names I would have ahead of him in this draft class.
Forgot about Mertz, Aller.
I think his ceiling's higher.
Yeah, but
he had better stats last year than J.J. McCarthy.
It's just the stats over J.J. McCarthy, though. Bum. He's a cheater.
Top 10 pick.
He's a cheater. Yeah, he cheated his way there.
That's right.
No, McCarthy actually could be a good pro. I don't know. I just don't want it to happen.
I was glad that he didn't go to New England because I would have been happy if he went to New England because he would have certainly failed. But I'm happy that he went to Minnesota so that if he does fail, it's his own fault. There's no one else to blame. So that made me real happy.
That's why they made the comparison with Caleb Williams. Like, those two rookie quarterbacks are not going to get the rookie quarterback. They're learning. No, they have too many weapons to be making excuses for as far as that's concerned. But, all right. Wow, 2:05. Look at that.
That's good work.
You're working overtime. Sorry for the tech issues at the beginning. I know it kind of knocked off the rhythm, but I think we're good. We closed out well. So we didn't get into the automated balls and strike challenge system. We'll get into that on Friday. I'm fascinated by that. Jerry Jones against Mike Brown. We'll get to that, I'm sure. But Caleb Downs, this thing that Ryan Day wants to do with Caleb Downs is just crazy.
The running
to me.
backs?
Yeah, like that. We'll move that to Friday.
Okay.
As far as that's concerned, and we're also going to get Kirby doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to reach out to Kirby because a lot of people got mad at off the bench and us today for our negative Reds coverage. So we need to spruce that up a bit, right? We need to button it up, a little house cleaning, So
right.
That's what Kirby. We're putting the bat signal up for old Kirby.
We need it. We need it.
So we're calling him in. Reds update as we close it out.
Reds update as we close it out. It is 0-0 in the bottom of the 7th inning. Really riveting game. 6.1 innings out of Hunter. 6.1 innings of one-hit baseball out of Hunter with 9 strikeouts. That's incredible. He's still out there. 100 pitches, 64 strikes. The Pirates only 1 hit. Who had the hit?
You surprised that David Bell?
Yasmani Grandal with the hit. He's now hitting
David
190.
Bell, David Bell doing non-David Bell-like things, letting Hunter Greene pitches deep into this. It's by the way, I always think people have overdone the, oh man, he's letting him pitch deep into the game. It's all about pitch count. It's all about the efficiency with your pitch count. If you can 15 pitches an inning is what you would like to try, in that bat, you know what I mean? Like 5 pitches a bat in that bat is what you would kind of like to get a guy out with. I think he's been pretty efficient. 101 pitch count, right now in the bottom of the 7th inning. I think that's pretty
6.1 and you're sitting right about 100. There's not much more you can ask for.
This is what I like too, because David Bell does like to pull the plug on these guys early. I kind of like that the Reds are starting to get some personalities in there and I think Hunter Greene's that dog. No, you ain't taking me out.
Right.
I'm rolling. You're going to leave me out.
I always like when they ask.
Yeah.
When Bell goes out and asks, hey, do you think you can keep going? Gives him a chance to stay in instead of just signaling right away.
Yeah, well, Hunter Greene has earned that at this point. But this is just a sign. You get performances like we got from Nick Lodolo last night and Hunter Greene and back-to-back. These are the things in the midst of all the chaos with the inconsistency with this team. These are those little silver linings that the front office is really kind of grinning from ear to ear about. Because now it's like you go spend money on a real pitcher, a really good pitcher in the offseason or maybe at the deadline. Now you got a 1-2-3 punch. You stay healthy. You got some firepower offensively. The Reds are close.
I agree.
I just don't think they're there. I'm not being negative. I don't think they're there, but I think they're a lot closer than what even some of the biggest skeptics out there think. But, hey, that's it for us. Sorry, 8 minutes past.
All good. No.
So that wraps it up. We'll be back at it again on Friday. Jacob will be back with the guys tomorrow from 10 to noon on Off the Bench. Make sure you're subscribing, of course, to Chatterback Sports on YouTube. Be a part of how you be a member, right? I saw it today for the first time. They moved it. Now you can go join or be a member or whatever. You can click it up at the top now, so that makes it a little bit
you can
easier.
either do it through the Chatterbox page. If you go to the account page on YouTube, you can join through there. Or if we're live or on one of our videos, right next to the subscribe button, there's usually a white button that says join if you're on desktop or anything like that. So you can do it both ways. We'd love to have you.
Cool. Well, good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Until Friday, this has been Grip It or Rip It with Kinner and Tissett. Have a good night.
But as of now, this is one of the most talented rosters in the last decade, maybe ever.